40 minutes in. This nigga Chad don't want to leave me no space.
I mean, you know, he's crushing it over here. That's why. You gave him the reins. He said, okay, I'm going to take this.
Here we go. How you doing, everybody? My name is Chad Milling, owner and creator of Rejecks. This is episode 5 of Comics and Coffee, and today we have a special guest. This is my first time doing this. I'm actually getting used to this. This is pretty cool now.
Right? It's fun doing these things.
It is. Like, I'm so used to Andrew, like, introducing everything, but now this is pretty dope. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So again, I'm Stephen Cherry, and I'm the creator of S.Comics and Project S.A.V.I.O.R, but my background, I'm from in between Cromwell and Hartford. I grew up. So from Connecticut, born and raised, and I was a athlete, big into sports, so basketball, soccer, baseball, track. I did pretty much everything except for football because we never had football.
Damn shame.
I know, right?
Damn shame.
No, I would have been good, I think. Yeah, comics was something that kept me grounded. So growing up, playing sports, and growing up between the 80s and 90s, comics were popular, but you didn't want to tell people you knew about comics, you knew about cartoons and stuff like that. Especially being an athlete and then growing up between two different places, like being in Hartford, I definitely didn't want to tell anybody else.
Yeah.
Comics, cartoons, and stuff like that. And we were running around doing a bunch of other things because there was no social media, there was no phones, nothing. So
why do you think people are like so afraid to tell a little bit more, dive a little deeper? Why are people so afraid to talk about that? Was it like because there was a stereotype? It was, what do you think it was?
I think it was the stereotype. Because one of the things that, you know, being a person of color, there was a stereotype, a stigma that's set on everything, that you're an athlete, you're a rapper. I remember being in the stairwells, everyone's rapping in the stairwell. There's dance battles going on, there's slap boxing, just stuff, you know, even the culture of making fun of one another, roasting each other, like just having fun. So it was one of those things where comics, cartoons were not in that area.
Yep. I agree.
And then
you almost like looked down upon as a nerd, and like they was accepted, everything like
you're
that.
You're not one of us.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, now that I'm older, everybody I knew from high school, all the people I knew from Hartford, guess what they're all doing now? Comics, cartoons, and it's hilarious. It's like, you all liked that back then? Oh yeah. So we could have all been hanging out doing all this other stuff too. Well, nah, but it's different than so it's just funny to see that parallel. And
Revenge of the Nerds. That's what it feels like.
It does. And now watching my little cousins that are in Hartford now, and they're going to school in Hartford and stuff like that. All the kids now, comics, anime, manga, cartoons, and they're all doing art. Yeah. So where I came up with sports, like I said, the little rap battles, the performing, all that stuff was what I did and all the people I knew did. Now everybody's into art, comics, and other things than just the sports and the stereotypes that were prior.
It's cool that you never change. You never change. That's the cool part too.
Nah. You know what? It's so ingrained in you that, like, instead of... So I did run around. I did stupid things growing up, but comics kept me grounded into, you know, kept me into reading. It kept me into staying away from a lot of other things as well. Right. But,
Agreed.
But then being in sports, you kind of dive right back into it too. So it was a give or take with it, but it was a good experience to have all that, and the reading, the creativity, the artwork is always beautiful and stuff like that. So that's why I've always stayed into comics.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree that comics has this great appeal and everything, and also too, it made me want to get into animation and learn about that as well too. So, favorite cartoons or animation? Since we're talking about that,
I've got a ton of them. So favorite cartoons, obviously, we all grew up on X-Men.
Yes.
You know, Captain Planet we watched.
Yep.
But
Yes.
Captain Planet,
Classic.
we all watched that.
Classic.
No matter how bad the show actually was, we still watched it. You're like, oh, I need to recycle.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't know what recycling was, but I need to recycle. I need to throw my trash away. But then you have the older shows. You know, you have G.I. Joe, Transformers, which Transformers was the first, like, Japan to America collaboration,
Good
really.
point.
Speed Racer, Astro Boy, Silverhawks. There was even a Native American one called Brave Star. They had the different Ghostbusters shows. So all those cartoons, I watched. I mean, even going back to Hanna-Barbera,
Hanna-Barbera,
the Johnny Quest, the Space Ghost, the Looney Tunes, obviously.
Yes.
But
Yep.
I like the epic storytelling of, when we got to the 90s with X-Men.
Yes.
And that was telling a story that you had it to where it actually told a story that dealt with the crisis of America that we deal with race and culture.
Yep.
But they did it using mutants and humans, and like this fear that you have that you're gonna magically catch this disease of becoming a mutant. It's like, it's not a problem.
Yeah, you figure it out. You figure it out and work together. Yep.
In the way they crafted Magneto as this villain, but it was like, no, he's not really. He's standing up for what's right, and that's his experience. So it's like, even all of them, like, Toad, Pyro, the Block, all these characters, they were treated so poorly because they were different.
Yes.
And so they did what was natural. Is, okay, if you're already going to call me a villain, I'll be that villain.
Yeah.
So...
But we want to be treated the same, just like you. We want the same things.
And that's all they really wanted, is that what's wrong with what they were doing isn't really much. And that's why I like when there's a very good and strong villain. Like, as of recent, you've done really good villains, like Killmonger, I think. That was... top-notch villain, right? Like, you could understand everything, and you ask anybody, was Killmonger wrong? And a lot of people be like, I mean, yes and no.
That's like, the best part about villains. Like, when they make you question your own theory, your own thoughts and stuff like that, it's like, listen, I understand where this guy's coming from. I understand where he or she means. And you know what? Maybe I need to rethink what I'm thinking, my theory, my thoughts, and maybe I could actually have empathy or understanding with this guy. So I totally get you on that.
And that's why I like the hero of, like, Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't just out there to, all right, it's a villain, bad, beat him up. It was understanding where they were coming from, and if I can help them, I'm going to try to help them.
Yes.
Also, with Peter Parker, they gave him regular people problems.
Yes.
He can't pay his bills. He's late for dates. He's late for work.
Yes.
Like, and this is a guy that has doctorate degrees. He's a scientist. He can do whatever, creating the web shooters, creating the suit, doing all this stuff. It's like, he can do whatever he wants to do, but he can't show up to work on time, so he gets fired. And he's just
still
a freelance
dealing with regular stuff. Yeah,
right. And that's why I never really gravitated towards Superman, because it was like, I'm all good and I'm all perfect and I can be anywhere I want on time. Like, and that's, again, the Flash was the same thing. Super speed can be anywhere on time that he wants to be, still late.
Yes.
He can't make it on time.
Yeah.
But he was another person with the Rogues Gallery, trying to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And trying to help them that's why I think with their villains in the Rogues Gallery, that was a fantastic take, because it was kind of like your Suicide Squad, where it's like, they are still trying to do the right thing in their own ways, and they have rules and regulations on what it means to be a villain.
Right. Yes, you did. Yes.
The idea of, like, a villain, like, at least in recent generations, that, like, a villain has become more understandable.
Yes.
It's important for that, because when you do have it to where it's just, the dynamic of Batman and the Joker, right, is very unique, and the reason why the Joker's a good villain, it's because it scares people, because he just does it because he wants to. There's no actual real rhyme or reason.
No.
He just does it because he wants to. And Batman has a reason, but his whole thing is trying to figure out why. But even Batman's villains, I think one of my favorite villains that gets overlooked, and it kind of upset me in the Suicide Squad movie, and I like the fact that they focused on Diablo, because that's a complicated character.
Yeah.
He goes all throughout time, and he made a mistake where he harmed his family.
Right.
And that's got to be a hard thing and a hard burden. He didn't even want to be part of the Suicide Squad. He didn't want to use his power. So, like, that was a good dynamic, but I think they should have focused on Killer Croc and his backstory, because you take, and maybe I'm impartial, it's a black man who, he was born with a skin condition, which is a real skin condition that people have, this crocodilian-like skin, and his family treated him like he was an animal. They put him in a cage. They did all this stuff. It's almost like DMX's story when DMX was a kid, where his mother put him in a cage with the dogs.
That's right.
And you take Killer Croc, and he's put in a cage. He files his teeth down. He becomes the villain that they all looked at him as, because he just had a skin condition.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's like, is he really a bad guy, or is he just a victim of his environment?
Right.
And 100% victim of his environment, because
Right.
when he was able to become good and do the right thing,
Still was going back to his bad habits.
well, he went back to his bad habits because he would hurt people,
Right.
but he was still trying to do the right thing.
Right,
So
right.
it's just, it's I love the story of the victim to their environment, and that they're a villain because that's what everyone made them to be.
Right.
And it's also upsetting to see, and going back to, you know, stuff in Hartford, is that, you know, they tell a lot of kids that look like us,
Yes. That we.
you're this animal, you need to be caged in, you need metal detectors, you
Right.
need this, and this. So why would I do anything but become that person that you've already decided I was?
I look at it like Nightcrawler, then Abandonment, all that stuff. Looks like a devilish figure. I'm a big Nightcrawler guy. So,
I like
but
Nightcrawler too,
he
yeah.
could have chosen to be that negative influence on everybody. Yes, you know. But
Right?
but it's almost like a yin and yang too thing. It's like this guy looks like the devil, but he's preaching faith. He's preaching the word, and I think that's always a cool element of a hero. So
Right.
like, I always think it's cool to see the hero actually makes their own decisions, whether it's good or bad, and then they go with it.
Right.
But that anti-hero part we go back into, it's like they don't really stand on much, or what do they really stand? They might stand on this side this way this day, and they might go this side the next day. But you kind of don't know. And I feel like with modern times, that's where a lot of the generation is at right now.
I think the best anti-hero, and I think we use that term so much for everything, like they call like Blade an anti-hero. He's really not an anti-hero.
Yeah, I don't consider
He's
Blade
100% a hero,
Yeah.
but they have him under the anti-hero gallery because he'll kill a vampire. But at the end of the day, it's still something that was harming people or
Right.
kill supernatural beings. He's not really an anti-hero though, because he doesn't harm humans unless they are part of, you know, like the familiars.
Right.
Where, and even then, it's still not 100% where he's just taking out humans. He tries not to, you know, because and I think Wesley Snipes did a great depiction in
Blade.
Blade,
Yeah.
where, you know, he killed those familiars,
Yes,
and then he
yes.
faced the consequences,
Yes.
and he didn't really fight being taken in either. So that's not an anti-hero. An anti-hero is like the Punisher,
Yes,
which the
yes.
Punisher is like,
Yes.
listen, police, you're corrupt, you're out.
Yep, you're all set.
Gang
And
members,
it's
mafia,
nothing.
you know, you abuse your wife. Like, it's anybody and anybody that's doing the wrong thing, because that seed of darkness that sits in him, where his family was taken away from him for him doing the right thing and doing his job.
Would you consider Harley Quinn as an anti-hero?
I consider Harley Quinn as a unique individual, right? So I like what they did with Harley Quinn, right? Is that, you know, her whole backstory, where, because a lot of doctors and therapists,
Yeah.
they do get this thing where, I wouldn't call it Stockholm syndrome, right? Because they fall in love with the person that they're giving
Their
therapy to,
clients,
because
yep.
they start empathizing, they understand where they came from. So it's why we love villains that are written so well. So she fell in love with this man, the Joker, obviously. And, you know, but when she has her awakening of, well, he doesn't care about me, and she snaps out of it and back into kind of reality,
Right.
is that I wouldn't consider her an anti-hero. I would consider her a misguided hero.
The only reason why I say anti-hero, I feel like there's times where she's like, all right, now we're getting a little too ruthless. We need to dial this back a couple notches. And with Joker, she'll let Joker roll.
Yeah.
She'll let him do his thing. She loves him, but there's times where she's just like, all right, I can't do this. It's not in
But
me.
right, and that's why I think that pulls her out of the anti-hero field, because even as a villain, she always had her limit.
Okay.
So anti-heroes typically don't, in my opinion, they don't have a full limit. It's just, I'm rolling with this, and this is what it's going to be, and I'm here for the cause. Like Magneto, even when Magneto turns, you know, on the right side and
Right.
everything like that, he still will take metal, roll you up into a ball,
Yeah.
and make you disappear out of
Yeah, he
existence.
will.
Like, it still holds on to it, to where heroes still have that set of like a virtue that holds them back from doing the next level of harming somebody to a certain point.
Okay.
Like, to a certain point, to me, Batman, I mean, when you look at some of the people that he beats up, it's like, you'd been better off killing them at that
Yeah,
point, because you
yeah.
just left them.
Yeah, that's true.
They're paralyzed for the rest of their life.
That's true.
Like, you knocked in all their teeth. They're
Yeah.
using a straw now. They can't eat food anymore. Like,
Those people he whooped up in Superman Batman movie, he almost
Right.
damn near killed them, man.
and that's what I mean, you know, and that's why, you know, Batman's like, I have the Nightwing hoodie on. I'm a huge Nightwing fan.
Right.
I like the whole Bat family and everything they were doing with it, but I think Nightwing holds all the virtues of Batman, but he still has his sense of justice is actually the right sense of justice, and Batman acknowledges that all the time. Is that I wanted you to be a better me.
Okay.
And when Dick Grayson left as Robin and became Nightwing, that's when, if you look at all the other Robins that came after him, they were all tainted a little bit, because when you're trying to make somebody be the person that you miss, you taint them a little bit, because they'll never be that person. He never looked at him as another individual. He always wanted his son back, and that's the reality of it. And that's why, when you get to this whole new line of stuff with, where Damian Wayne is being trained by everybody. Well, it's being trained by Nightwing, Red Hood, and Tim Drake's Red Robin. It's funny to see the dynamics, because Red Hood is fighting so hard to say, well, just shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
And it's like he wants to say that, but he's doing well with holding back, but he still goes back to the root where Nightwing, where Dick Grayson, he's like, listen, this is what you have to do.
Right.
You have to hold back. Yeah. You have all the power to do everything.
Right.
Hold back and dial it in.
Yeah.
And then they laugh at him, and then it's always some like weird thing. And I hate how all the cartoon animations that they do with Nightwing, they nerf him so bad. Like, he does a backflip, and he's like, I sprained my ankle.
Yeah, that's
it's like,
true.
Come on, he's the flying Grayson. He can't sprain his ankle.
They make it seem like he's like almost like weak at certain times when he should be the strongest at this time. I agree with you on that. But also too, I agree with you the part where Batman, Batman's the father figure, and without him, they all gonna. It's the amount of chaos they would have. They would not be fighting their demons. They would just be letting their demons out.
Well, I love the fact when with Batman is interesting, because when the villains are like, well, expose him as Bruce Wayne, and Two-Face and everybody like starts freaking out, like, do not expose him.
Yep.
Because if Bruce Wayne is gone,
we're all set.
We will all be dead.
Yep.
Like, you just made it just where it's just Batman 100%.
Yeah.
And it's just funny to see that dynamic. I mean, like I said, being a huge Flash, I'm a huge comic fan in general, but being a huge Flash fan too, it's like all the villains are like, no, don't go to Central City, because the Flash will make you regret every decision that you ever made. And the Flash is interesting just because you have all the different Flashes, right?
Right.
But it's Barry Allen's the one they're really afraid of, because he will chase you through everything just to tell you, like, hand that kid back their lollipop. Like, why'd you do that? And it's just like, it's interesting to have these stories and stuff like that. I mean, I think with comics and in reading a lot of the comics, though, and where we miss out a lot with the big major comics is these training arcs. Like, we never really, they did all the year one stuff, but we never really get to see like how they quote unquote leveled up.
That's
like,
a good point.
How'd you get stronger? How'd you get this? And they'll show like bits and pieces of it, but the montages for me, like, I like seeing that even in
character
comics,
development
like,
and how they actually the arc and everything of that. Yeah.
And I think the best show that did it is, and a lot of people didn't like it, which I don't know why, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where you get to watch Falcon literally have this whole scene where he's jumping with the shield, he's messing up, he's going through this whole thing.
Even the challenging of being Captain America, that was a huge thing. Yeah.
It's a hard mantle to take on, somebody else's mantle, and how do you do it to serve it justice?
No, good point. But my reason why I want to talk to you about that is, how did all this stuff actually inspire you in your comic book line, Mr. Donovan?
So, how it inspired everything is I basically went through, and I've been reading comics since the 80s.
Okay.
And I've been going through everything. And I've always been and I feel like every black kid in America, martial arts movies, all the old, like, Five Deadly Venoms, The Last Dragon, Bruce Leroy, like, we loved all of these things. I mean, even look at hip-hop. Hip-hop is so related to fantasy, comics, martial art. Wu-Tang Clan. I grew up on Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
I mean, who didn't? Yeah. In the imagery, DMX videos, they do these, like, high-intensity videos that have these things that are superhuman feats. I mean, with the Rough Riders, they're on motorcycles doing stuff back then we had never seen before. So it's all this stuff of just building from hip-hop culture, comics. I was huge into anime and manga growing up as well. So reading all this stuff, in taking in all this stuff, and I'll be honest, I hated anything to do with English. So writing, reading,
You ain't lying about that.
just everything.
Yeah.
And then art, I never got a chance to experience art until I got to college, because my family was very strict on, you're playing sports, you're going to be an athlete, this is what it is.
Right.
And that's just the path line you have. And I was like, okay, so then I won't do any of the stuff that I really enjoyed. But then when I got to college, the professors that I had there, and I had a really good philosophy professor, which unfortunately he passed away just recently, which he had back cancer, and he lived for 22 years with a cancer that was terminal. He was supposed to, after he got diagnosed, was supposed to die in 6 months. Lived 22 years with it.
Good for him.
So I was talking to him, and he goes, no, you've got to find the things that you love to do.
That's right.
If you don't find those things, life's going to be meaningless.
That's right.
And something clicked at that point, and then he started giving me books. He's like, read this book. And I was like, oh, I love reading.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I want you to write. Write down all your thoughts. And I was like, oh, I like I like writing. I have journal of writing. And I daydream a lot.
I agree with you.
I sit around daydreaming like, oh, I just, superhero stuff too. Like the windows just blew in, got sent flying back, I get back up, like, and stuff like that. So as I was daydreaming, I started writing those daydreams down.
Great.
And I was like, okay, so let me see where this goes. And then being with martial arts, and I used to get in trouble. I had very bad anger management
Yep, a lot of
issues.
whooping ass. Yep.
So
Yep.
I actually did do.
You can kind of relate.
Yeah, like get my ass whooping,
I
whooping
did
ass.
have
Yep.
to do martial arts in the fact of the person that actually brought me into it. He was like, do sword training with me. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And he was
Kind of
like,
opened your mind big time.
it does, because so our sensei, older Japanese guy, he was here. If you messed up, he'd hit you with the bokken. So you just get hit in the back or the arm. It's like, that hurts. You don't want to get hit again.
Yes.
And then, you perfect it. And what we learned is to never draw. So it's always keeping the sword in, never drawing it, because if you drew your sword, it meant that you would have to take somebody's life. That's what that means. It's not you don't draw.
Yes.
Right. You don't draw it just for show.
Yes.
So that pushed it, and then I started creating the character of Donovan. Just kind of, I knew I wanted a character that was biracial, because you never see biracial characters in comics. You never see them in. You have references to it in manga, more or less.
Okay.
There was a great manga that I read, and unfortunately it'll probably never be finished. It was called Berserk. And the character in the story, his name is Guts.
Okay.
Huge. He has this huge sword called the Dragon Slayer sword. It's like a 6-foot sword. Like, it's ridiculous. But his whole thing was like, they did give the reference of, his mother was black. They didn't say it, but they said she was hung in a tree, and they called her strange fruit. Now, we all know what that means, it's like strange fruit, hangings, stuff like that. So, like, and he was born from that, and like, you knew he was biracial because he was different. He was tan skin, and in Japan culture, there's a lot of mixing and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, swordsman, love swordsman. Okay, I need that in my story. So like, now I want the character to be biracial. With the heaven and hell themes and everything like that. Finding a balance, yin and yang.
Yes.
And finding this balance of doing the right thing and the wrong thing. Okay, I'm going to add that element in there. Then I started thinking about who's around him to kind of guide him in the right direction or the wrong direction. Then I started thinking about, my family. I started thinking about my friends. I started thinking about mentors that I had.
Yes.
And it just started building and building and building. And then I was like, where do I want it set in? The setting, I went through current times. I went through the past, medieval times. I went through this time, that time. And I was like, let's just make a whole new world. Make it to where there's modern, there's like Stone Age, there's this, there's that.
A mixture of time.
Just a mixture of time everywhere.
Yep.
So you have high tech, you've got low tech, you've got stone workers, blacksmiths,
Yes, you
just
see that.
everything.
I see that.
And when I was creating, and I was like, okay, I don't want to just have it just as black, white, Asian. I want it to be, you've got beast folk. I love Native American lore.
Okay.
So with beasts and, having these contracts with like Skinwalker and all these other things and making contracts with animals and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, so make beast folk. Then I was like, oh, angels and demons, because I brought, I was like, okay, let's make angels and demons. But let's make them all to where they have jobs. They're not just like good, evil, and everyone's living in harmony.
Right, okay.
So the world starts off in a utopia.
Yes, I see
So make
that.
it a perfect world, and then have a chaos happen based on certain events. and then have everything break down, and you start taking things away and changing people's memories and rewriting it. So does it get a little political? Yes, but that's what comics are for. It's to push the envelope of everything.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And that's where Project S.A.V.I.O.R was kind of born. I sat in my basement for a month, and I wrote 1,800 pages in 30 days. Every day.
Did you feel like you just need to get that process out? Like when you started, did you feel like I just need to get it out and just write it down, or was it like a bit by bit process, day by day process?
It just started flowing. And it just all came out. And I remember I used to go watch Stephen King speak at the Bushnell. He used to speak at the Bushnell all the time. And he said, if you have a story, if you can't get that story out within 30 days, it's either not a good story, you're not interested in your own story, or you just need more time to process.
No.
So I just sat there and I was like, man, that makes the most sense. And then you just start writing and you just go.
Yeah.
And
that's very true, because when you write, you just write and you just get it all out, no matter how it's spelled, no matter if you're making spelling errors. If you just get it out your mind, you just put it out on a piece of paper, it feels good to just see it, visualize it and see it, and then you start to read through it, it's like, oh, I got a whole story, I got something here. And you just keep fixing it, making it better and better. And
that's exactly what I did. And then I refined it. I did, it took me 4 times to refine it all.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just a process of making sure I think the hardest part is because you never want to get too personal when you're writing, right? But then I thought about it and I was like, no, I'm going to make it personal.
Yeah.
These are all people I know.
Yeah.
And I talked to all of them and I was like, I want to tell our story. I want to tell how, this in here, is that okay?
That's the hardest part, is laying out your personal side in the stories, because you're like, it's like you don't want to feel like weak. I feel like you just don't. But one thing I learned from Stan Lee is that if you really write what you know, that like is a great way to lead into your stories. Like, right, I can't write about. I want to write about space, but I gotta learn about space.
Right.
But I know I could write about stuff that happened in Hartford, stuff that happened in Connecticut, stuff that happened, that in my lifetime. So it's much easier.
Yeah, that does make it easier, and I think the vulnerability is what makes good heroes and good villains.
Yes.
That we never want to be vulnerable. So that's why we have heroes like Superman.
Yes.
Omni-Man. These all-powerful beings that they can't be hurt. Even Wolverine. I mean, it wasn't until this the Sabretooth War just recently with Wolverine that they found a way to actually hurt him, which was psychologically. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where it's like you make these all-powerful beings that can't be hurt.
People can't relate.
No, there's nothing to relate to. So if I have a hero, yes, Donovan has a ton of power. You can see it in the first issue.
Yes.
You can see he can do stuff. But at the same time, is in the second issue, you see he can be hurt.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you're all powerful or not. It's just something where you have to have that human quality with it as well.
Yes.
And that was the challenge in creating it, is that I wanted a big exposure, kind of like when you do watch anime or you're reading manga. It's always in that first chapter, the first issue. It's always this big thing, and you're like, okay, well, what is this now? Like, now you have to read and read and read, and it keeps you active in reading, because it's like, okay, I'm going to slowly show you little bits of power.
Right.
And you're like, well, what's his full power then? If this is where he is, and you're saying that's not peak, then where does it go? But then you also have the drawbacks of keeping humanity as well. And I think that's why there was a game, Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry. It's one of my favorite games, where it's two twin brothers, and that's really the story based on them. But it's one is holding on to his humanity, and the other one wants to hold on to power. They want to be like their father, so they're half demon, half human. And one is holding on to that power that his father had, because his father was this all-powerful demon. So he's like, well, if I'm just like my father, no one can stop me. And he turns, he's not really evil, but he's a villain.
Yeah, okay.
And then the other brother, which is the main character, Dante, he is holding on to humanity. And they can never figure out why he's so much stronger than his brother. But that piece of humanity is what grounds us and holds us, and it keeps us moving forward.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss when writing comics, is that the bit of humanity that pulls us forward.
Yes.
I can't give up yet, because they need me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. With like the movie Good Son, Bad Son, like Macaulay Culkin was the evil.
The good son, yeah.
Yeah, good son. My fault, good son. Yeah, but Macaulay was the evil. That was the evil kid, boy.
That role terrified me, because you go from Home Alone.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
all fun.
Exactly.
And that's the value of like these people that, you know, Macaulay Culkin, fantastic actor. Even as a kid, he played the fun-loving Kevin.
Yep.
And then you have him playing the good son,
Yeah,
where he's
wicked.
just like, we're gonna go kill some people
When he
today.
said, "Don't fuck with me," I was like, "Yo, that's it right there."
But
Like,
even Robin Williams, you have this light-hearted person, all comedy, and then that what was it, the 1 Hour Photo, where he played
that's right.
he played the stalker.
Yeah, that was out. That was.
I was like, oh my,
yeah,
like,
I forgot all about that.
you know, even Jim Carrey, the number 23, when that came out, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, you play this stone hard detective, you play a killer, you do all these things, and it's like, that's acting.
Yeah.
You know, those are the roles that you want to see. I mean, even, you know, Michael B. Jordan, I'm glad he got out of the typecast from when he was a kid, you know, Hardball and everything else, where he plays like The Wire. I'm this gang member, I'm this kid that's a gang member. And he finally got out of that, and he's not typecast anymore.
Right.
Because that's got to be hard, because I know they were going to take him and just use him as, he's going to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he was able to get his movie out, Kin.
Ken.
Where
Yep.
he directed and produced that movie, and that was a fantastic movie. Didn't get a lot of credit, but it was a good movie because it was original in what they were doing, and it told a great story of values of family and how far you would go to protect your family.
Yeah, that's true. Even with Creed too, I mean, you already know Creed is just a fact of him. Just the come up story is always a great story, but like also too, and I respect this about Donovan as well, the respect for the past. You know, even with him and Donovan, seeing Donovan respect for the old man, and seeing him how they started to, you know, slowly build that relationship.
Yeah.
His respect for even when Donovan met Brody and he helped Brody out. It's like Donovan that's the same thing like Creed. Those characters that just have natural humanity and you see them actually build as they get older, it's really cool to see. I like that because it's just like, evil can never conquer that.
No.
You know, and we always need that in this world. And we always need, when someone just shows that within their character, people relate to that and they love that about them.
Yeah, and that's one of the funny things about when I was writing Donovan. I put situations that I was telling myself, no, don't jump in. Like, that person made the mistake.
Right.
Let them deal with their consequences. I'm like, and then my arm moves and my body moves and I'm in the middle of it. And I'm like, why am I here?
Right.
And, you know, that was the whole purpose of it, was that, you know, there's sometimes where we say, no, we know we're not supposed to get involved in this. We're not supposed to deal with this. Right. But we act.
Yes. And that's what
why
Donovan
do we
did.
act? And that's where playing with the balance of why he's doing the things he's doing, but also you see in that first issue when his rage took over is that, and granted, you know, they weren't human, but it's still leaving a massive crater and looking like a villain. I want to play with that, and that's the whole part of the story, is that yes, we have heroes, but will they always do the right thing and the most rational thing?
Right.
It's hard when somebody pushes us to our limit.
Yeah.
We don't know where we'll be.
They make mistakes too. Yeah.
I push the boundaries of that, of making the mistakes, and it's okay to make the mistakes.
I agree.
That's the whole point in Brody being the character he is, and you'll see more and more of the side where he's very carefree. And that's pushing the limit on Donovan to, I was always serious growing up, so I had friends that kind of broke me out of that, where it was like, it's okay to smile, it's okay to say like, hey, I'm not doing well today. Right. But I was never told that growing up, so it's like, you know, with our families, we're kind of pushed a certain way, and then we have our friends to bring us out of it and bring us into reality again.
Yeah.
So it's pushing those limits of that.
I agree with you a lot of stuff when you was talking about the writing and like how English, like I feel like English, when we was growing up, we had to follow these guidelines of how to write. And I feel like as writers, especially now, we are able to branch out and say, I'm gonna write about this, I'm gonna write about that. And if comics didn't help us to do that and art and all that stuff, God knows where I would be. Like, sometimes we're in this box. We don't seem to open up. But more and more as we grow and we get older, we start to understand stuff and see stuff. We feel comfortable in our own skin.
You know, and I think that's a good point you brought up, is being in that box. Is that like, for black people, we can't swim. Yeah. Why can't we swim? Like, I get it. And there is some physiological things, right? Melanin weighs more, so it does weigh you down. But it doesn't mean you can't swim. Right. It's just we tend to get in this box because people tell us this is where we belong. And that's breaking out of those boxes, breaking out of those standards, and that's what comics really help with. Because like I said, the reason why I didn't like English was because they, like you said, they told you, this is how you have to write.
Right.
There's no other way about it. This is what you have to do.
Right.
Then as you get older, and I got to college, they're like, no, you don't have to write that way.
Right.
You can write any way you want.
Right.
You know, you look at books like Harry Potter, for example. That book was it was detailed, but it was very basic. There wasn't a lot of huge words or this great scripting or anything like that. It was just a story that took off. You know, 50 Shades of Grey, same thing.
Yes.
Not the best story, but it took off because it's a fantasy world that a lot of people like.
Yeah, fantasy, simple fantasy.
You know,
world.
and then you look at something as detailed as Stephen King. He writes almost over detailed.
Right.
But it's almost like when you're reading his stories, you have all the pictures right there.
Right.
So whenever they do a Stephen King movie, you know it's going to be good, because if you mess that up and he literally gave you everything you needed to know, then you failed as a director for that, because you didn't have to do anything. It was just right there for you. You had every picture that you needed.
Yeah, the descriptions in it alone, I'm reading it and I'm just like, damn. Like,
it's fantastic.
Like, it's just like, man, this the amount of curse words and description of the people, like, it's just like, man, he didn't even have to say all this. But then when you see it actually in the movie, you're like, oh, I get it. I get it. Like, because if you didn't have it in that book, you wouldn't understand it when you see the actual picture. You would be like, oh, well, you know, you could have left this out, Stephen. But no, when you see it, the visual part, you're like, yes, all of this came together very well now.
Yeah.
It all came pretty well.
And that was the trick about doing the comic, is that, because I wrote it as a novel,
Yeah.
putting it into comic format, biggest challenge.
Really?
Because it's, you know, some things don't look good being drawn out.
Yeah, that's
so there's
true.
some stuff that you take out to make it look better visually and not waste time doing panels. So when I read comics, sometimes with I call them the real independents, because I know Image and Boom and all these are independent comic companies. The reality is they're still part of the big masses where, you know, they're printing thousands of books at a time. When I say independents, I mean like the guy who's self-publishing, or, you know, they created a publishing company and they're going through them.
Right.
Is that one of the things where I'll do reviews for people is that some of their panel work it's just too much of the same, or it's too much stuff that can be taken out. And when you're doing your text and stuff like that, you don't want to put every single thought that you have on the page.
Right.
Let the visuals do the work, and then let your scripting do the other work. So
We had this conversation about art and the actual, like, you know, the reading of the comic book, you know, the actual, which sometimes the actual comic book, just the art form itself explains everything.
Right.
You know, you don't need so much of the dialogue and everything in there. But sometimes dialogue is great when you understand, when you get to see, like, read it, you understand what the character's trying to say or is saying. But then too, me and him go back and forth. The visual picture of a woman crying or a man crying is all you need.
basically how I look at it is all the imagery that's in the comic, that's your food. That'd be like your meat, your potatoes, and your vegetables. The words are all the seasoning you add on it to enhance it that much more.
Okay.
So your words should make that panel really pop. It shouldn't just be this long drawn out, like you read some of the independents and they'll have 2 paragraphs on a panel. It's like, man, I don't want to read all that. Like, and you know you have to, but it's
Right.
if you have to read all of that just to get the gist of what's going on, then you have a problem with your paneling.
Okay.
And so the paneling should be able to push you forward where you can kind of understand, like, oh, this happened. Okay, now we're here. Like, it should bring you along. But if the paneling can't do that for you, you're just relying on the words, then and this is why I said seasoning, you've over-seasoned it.
Okay, that's true.
So,
that's true. Yeah.
So now we're just too focused on the words versus the artwork. It should be a blend of both.
About 40 minutes in, this nigga Chad don't want to leave me no space.
I mean, he's crushing it over here. That's why. You gave him the reins. He said, okay, I'm going to take this.
All right. So, not sure how we're going to edit this, but,
Figure it out.
just as a safety, welcome to episode 5, Comics and Coffee. We're sitting here with my man,
I knew the curry was coming. I knew the curry was coming.
When I'm about to get the full name right, I fuck up the first name. The thing is, his name is Stephen Cherry, but I always want to call him Stephen Curry.
Yes.
So then when I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna call him Stephen Curry, I'm gonna say Cherry. Then I said Stephen. All right, so welcome to episode 5 of Comics and Coffee. We're here with Stephen Cherry, author and creator of Project S.A.V.I.O.R. So yo, dude, you and Chad kicked it off with a great convo, and you started talking about the idea, like the balance between art and just text, whether it's narration, word bubbles, and I thought you made a good point about the artwork being like the meat and potatoes, the base of the meal. The words is just the seasoning. I'm curious as to if there are any examples of like comic books that strike that balance perfectly, or books that really lead with the art and almost sometimes go entire panels with no words often. Like any writers, any books that come to mind?
I think one of them, and you go back to Infinity Crisis, or Crisis on Infinite Earth, with DC, and that was one of my favorite, because it's the death of Supergirl, death of the Flash. Like, there's a lot that happened in that little mini series that they did for that story run. They did really well on blending everything, and that's why I think when they ran the TV show for the Flash and they did that whole crossover series event where they did the Crisis on Infinite Earths, it was so easy to make for them because you had a perfect blend of everything, and they got all the characters really well, and with everything that they had, it was a good mixture for who the villain actually was, and the villains, the heroes, and what's going on, and it was a good blend of everything. I think something like the new Static series that came out with Nicholas Draper-Ivey took on that role of doing that. They did a really good job with this visually stunning artwork. You could look through the pages and it was like you knew what was going on, but then those words were like, oh, now I'm locked in fully. It wasn't in having the narrations like in the beginnings or your subsettings and stuff like that. Those do drive you further ahead, but when you can just look and kind of see, okay, here's where we are, it makes it that much better than it's like we were in the desert, then all of a sudden now we're in a facility, but we don't even know how you got here, and then you're relying on those words to fill in all the gaps. Yeah. So if you took time to do 2 panels of like what I did in issue 1 of when they left the scene, you have the whole helicopter situation where you see them going in, so you know that this is how they got there. And then they kind of talk a little bit about the event. So even without the words there, you see A through Z, and a lot of people try to skip because as independents, I know it costs money to get your book done, to do all the artwork, to do everything.
So that's probably why a lot of times they're trying to cut corners, save costs, maybe.
Right, they cut corners a lot. I mean, even Marvel and DC do it as well. They cut a lot of corners because implied and inferred knowledge, they just figure you to understand, okay, this is what we're doing, and we just skip over this part. That's why, like, the training montages where anime and manga, they'll give you 4 chapters of somebody just swinging a sword around. Like, they'll do that because those artists have the time and the effort of it, and it means more in those situations where those montages are important, where as here in America, we're like, all right, we need to be to the next thing. Why are you giving me an issue of training, So it's a push on that.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting thing because I'm not sure what my preference is. I know that when recently, I think that your background in comics, I think that you've been into comics for a longer net time than I have. I started when I was a kid, and then in adulthood, it's just kind of got spotty. But then a year ago, I dove in, and I'm really into it now. But all that to say, I think one of the books that brought me back was Something is Killing the Children.
That was good,
Dude, when I started reading it, I'm like, holy hell. But the reason why I bring it up is because I've noticed that in a lot of those issues, there are just series of panels that tell in a very compelling way that build suspense. That make you anxious to turn the page, and sometimes when you turn the page, you have an actual reaction, and there's not a word. Right. And then there's that. So I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. You have to be an amazing storyteller to be able to evoke that reaction in me without even saying a single word. But then on the flip side, very recently, like right now, I'm reading a volume 1 of Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is like one of my favorite superheroes of all time, and I'm reading the Stan Lee, John Buscema run for the first time, and the whole style is different, right? Like there's heavy narration every single box, so it's like total opposites. I enjoy both though, so I'm not sure like what I'm not sure what the rule of thumb is there. I think there's just probably style differences, but I noticed that both can work. But I think it just comes down to the storytelling.
It does come down to that. So sometimes, and that's why I said like more or less with like independence, more so than like the big three, right? Is that the big three, and back then when they were doing Silver Surfer for that first volume of it, they had a backstory for it, but it was just easier to narrate that backstory. Mm-hmm. And then they finally got into showing it later on. So sometimes what ends up happening is when you put all the words in there, you then over-explain, and then you double explain.
It's on the nose a little bit.
Yeah, so when you over-explain it, it comes down to like you just gave everything away. So when you do turn that page, you're like, oh, I already knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. You don't get that shock and awe of like, oh, why are we here now? You know, so it takes you out of that. But sometimes if you get it to where it's just right, you do that narration just right, and you say, you know, Silver Surfer, the Galactic Herald, you know, all these things, and then they didn't have, like I said, they didn't have the full art for the backstory or anything like that right away. Mm-hmm. So you tell the story, oh, you know, Norrin Rad, blah, 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 and you give his whole story like that. Well, it locks people in because they're like, oh, this is interesting, you know, and then when they do a retcon, it makes it harder when you have that written story like that because everybody knew that lore originally. Yeah. So it bounces back and forth. I mean, like I said, you can do it really well if you know you're going to have a solid and complete story. If you're going to do a lot of retcon like Marvel has done, DC has retconned so many things, you know, it gets very convoluted with all that storytelling because now it's harder to pull that lore away because they read it. Yeah. When it's just pictures, you can kind of pull it away and say, oh, that was a flashback, but it was the wrong one. It's like the story with the Joker. The Joker has 3 different backstories that we know of that all fit because we don't know which one's the real one, and we don't know who the real Joker actually is. The 3 Jokers, right? You have the 3 stories, and they did a good job in The Dark Knight, in that series where they had the Joker, and he tells all 3 of those stories in the movie. You know, you want me to tell you how I got these scars? Yeah, you know, he tells the story with the wife. She wanted me to smile. Tells the story of the father. So he tells.
Great. I didn't
tells
even know. I didn't even know that was a reference there.
Yeah, that's what because you had 3 different Jokers. I mean, the Joker was just a throwaway character. He died in the first issue he was in.
Is that true?
That was supposed to be the end of the Joker.
He was just
no one knew it was gonna blow up. Like that's the beautiful thing about comics too, is that you create a character and you're like, all right, this is just gonna be a throwaway character, and then it becomes this huge thing. Like, oh, we're gonna really develop this now. People want to see more. Mm-hmm. And Joker, people want to see more of the Joker because it's a character no one understands, and that's the beauty of, I think, villains, is that you can have a full understanding behind it. People fall in love with it, but then you give those unknown qualities, and then people are like, well, I need to know more now. You're gonna tell me eventually, and they'll keep reading just to figure out what happens. So there's a ton of. There is a balance to it. Like I said, narration. In the beginning of my stories, you have the narration part of it, and then it just gets into conversational. You have to know how to balance the narration to the conversational. Because you can't have the conversation because, like here we're doing, you know, we're talking back and forth. But if we were out and about seeing each other, it's not a, hey, I'm going to give you a monologue for about 45 minutes. Not we don't do that. We just say, hey, what's going on? It's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I think that's where people get lost, and they get lost in monologuing versus dialoguing.
Okay. Yeah, man. I love it. Yo, you guys were talking about Joker. Are you reading Absolute Batman at all?
So I've read a couple issues
a little bit.
Don't get me wrong. I like the new take on it. I mean, it does still feel, you know, when they did the universes of like the other worlds and stuff like that, you know, making him to where he's not this rich and powerful Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. I like playing with that idea. I like taking it to where the Joker is basically like a Lex Luthor, Norman Osborn, like I do
slash
like
demon,
right?
He's like some monstrosity,
right? Like playing around with all that and stuff like that. So it's a new take and it's fun, and then tying all the universes together and everything like that. And I said, I'm a huge Flash fan. Absolute Flash drives me crazy.
Yeah, you know, so I never got into Flash. I don't know what it was about Flash.
I think
so
the
I
Flash
haven't
was
read
hard.
Absolute Flash either, so I'm not sure what the difference is.
Basically, they wanted to focus. Everyone wants to focus on Wally West now. So it's Wally West. He goes to meet with Barry Allen. Barry Allen does have the pseudo Speed Force in him. Barry Allen gets disintegrated, gives him the power. Essentially, that's what happened.
Okay.
Same lightning bolt, everything like that. I think with the Flash, what was hard about the Flash is that you had Barry Allen. Barry Allen actually, he had a long run to begin with, but the time frame where we would have gotten into the Flash comics was Wally West. And a lot of people, it's hard for people to bounce back and forth between Barry Allen, Wally West. Then you've got Bart Allen, which is Barry's grand. It's like all these different Flashes that all wear the same mantle.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made it hard for the Flash. And like, I'm a Barry Allen fan. Like, Wally West is okay, but it's like, at the end of the day, when they're trying to say who's the fastest speedster, it would have to be Barry Allen. He's literally the creator of the Speed Force. He's the creator of everybody else's power. He gives people power. You can say this person's a mainline or this or that, but it's Barry Allen's choice. If he wants to close up the Speed Force, most likely he probably could. And then no one has access to it. So it's one of those things where you bounce back and forth with it, and it's like, okay, well, this is that, but Absolute, it just, they're trying to do too much explaining. This is when we get into like, you do too much talking. They did too much in the beginning, and it wasn't enough of the artwork. Not that it couldn't carry it through, but it just was dragged out a little bit. To where like Absolute Superman, Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, they put you in it.
Yeah.
You're in it from the get-go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, with Absolute Batman, dude, they're hitting us with like key after key, like introducing a new villain every single issue.
Yeah, it's kind of like Star Wars. Star Wars did that.
Super fast.
The new Star Wars runs all these like Last Order stuff and everything like that. They're just like when it first came out, the new Star Wars run, they were like, here's 45 new characters for you, all key issues. It was just like, jeez.
Yo, I think they got Absolute Scarecrow dropping like soon.
Yeah, I do like the character designs for the Absolutes.
Dude, no, the character designs
they're
are
phenomenal.
Out of control.
I mean,
I think Absolute Catwoman is one of my favorites. I mean, she's probably the closest to the mainline version of her, but that's that helmet, the cyberpunk helmet, is so dope.
Yeah, I saw that weeks before they actually released it, of the first imagery. And that's one of the nice parts about creating comics is like meeting all the comic artists and the creators and stuff like that. So they'll drop little tidbits here and there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like that style.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they got it from anime and a manga.
Yeah, dude,
to do the helmet.
I say that all the time, dude. I think Nick Dragata's whole approach to like the art of, at least with Absolute Batman anyway, and some of the villain designs and the character designs he's been doing, it all seems manga and inspired. The exaggerated proportions.
Right, and that's one of the things that I think is blending in nicely. And that was the whole point of my book too, was to blend it in, to have the comic format, but those more action scenes and less static scenes, because you know, you read comics and a lot of the scenery is very static. They're just standing there very still, or even when they throw a punch, it's a very static punch.
That's true.
Pow only goes so far, you know.
Zap.
Yeah, you know, or the snicked with Wolverine in his claws. Like, it's like, okay, well, 1 minute they were there, the next minute they're not. Like, it's very static. So having these very dynamic poses and I'm glad that these things are kind of colliding together now, and you're pulling more Japanese artists in. You're getting that stylization. Like I said, Nicholas Draper Ivey, you know, with what he did for Static and doing more covers and stuff like that, he has that anime vibe and that manga vibe. It brings a whole new life to comics. Because at the end of the day, what do a lot of people look at when they grab a book? They look at the cover.
Of course,
cover, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna add this to my list if the covers are like this. You know, and then when you get that one crappy cover that comes in, I don't want to say crappy cover, but one that doesn't appeal or is not as appealing, people walk away from it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the reality of it. And like,
the cover does a lot of heavy lifting to like grab attention and kind of.
Talked about the same thing with rap albums, the covers.
Album covers are really important with music too.
And you notice with Absolute Batman, if you take a look at it, there's a lot of parallels to Spawn. You know,
tell me more about that.
You look at Absolute Joker, and when they put him on the cover, if you go back to some of the Spawn covers with Violator, Malbolgia, like all the demons and stuff like that, they're hunched over and they're, you know, very menacing looking, and the teeth and the drool and everything like that. You know, very, and I mean, yes, you get it from Venom and stuff like that as well, but Spawn really pushed the limit of it. Even Absolute Batman, standing in some of the poses he's in where he's curled up and stuff like that, and Batman's always had that look to it with Spawn, but it's very, very, very Spawn-esque in the dark covers and the, you know, the dark grays and blacks with an orange background. You know, they do, it works. There's nothing wrong with it at all, but that's the nostalgia purpose for everybody. They see it and they're like, oh, this looks great because you've already been ingrained with it. You know, it's already influenced you because you had all these other things. And that's what I think, like Scotty Young, for example. Scotty Young doing the baby covers. They're all essentially reprinted covers that we've already seen before. But because it's a new style, it just holds us in and we're like, okay, we're locked in. I'm buying that Scotty Young. Yeah.
His stuff is fun. It's like, I think like for certain cover variants, I think I can get into the fun of it, and I think it's like an amazing signature style. But I don't know if the style is for me. Like if I had to read like an entire book where
like
that was the style, I think I would kind of like get a little lost in the style of it.
It's like a childlike type.
Yeah.
But his books are like, he did an Oz story that his style kind of reminds me of like Dr. Seuss, where it's like kind of elongated, it's kind of like out of proportion, and you know they're human, but they have these weird proportions to them. So I like his actual art style like that. The baby style, not a huge fan of, but the art style that he does where it's like this, like the Oz or like Through the Looking Glass, like the original artwork from that, you know, it reminds me of that. And that artwork, I love that artwork more. You know, I tell him that when I see him, I tell him that all the time. Like, you gonna do another cover like this? I'm getting to it. I'm working on it. You know, and like I said, that's the nice part about going to the conventions and meeting all the people, and you know, you get to see like behind the scenes looks, or you know, you get to meet them and understand the person they are and where they come from and why they do the style that they do.
Yeah. Starting to go to more, man. I went to my first one. New York Comic Con this past October. That was my first comic convention ever.
That was probably like a culture shock because that's a big one to go to for your first convention.
It is. And so Chad went. I think he went. Was that your first time going to New York Comic Con?
Third time.
So you've been a few times.
I've been to it before. Yeah.
So everyone kept telling me that, dude. It felt like people were like warning me and like trying to like be like, "Yo, dude, brace yourself. It's gonna be this crazy thing. You're gonna get overwhelmed." So, a couple of things. One, I only got it. We got 1 day passes, and it was for Thursday. So Thursday is probably the lightest day.
Thursday's the lightest day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like So when I tell people about conventions, I'm like, go either Thursday or Friday, whatever the first day is, go Thursday or Friday, and then Sunday, when everybody's kind of cleaning up everything.
I heard Saturday's crazy.
Saturday is just ridiculous. The prices are a lot higher on Saturday because there's 10,000 people or
That's
more that could be there.
probably what I would find the most disturbing is the price
And then
hikes.
Sunday, you catch people right before they're closing up. You get all the deals because they want to try to clear out their stock. I do the same
Pro
thing.
tip.
Yep, I'm like, listen, I don't want to take anything with me, so you clear out my stock that I have. I don't really care. I make deals on Sundays. And that's what everybody does, you know. So Sundays are a really good day to go, but yeah, Saturdays are.
Yeah, but New York Comic Con was super fun though. I mean,
It
like,
is fun, yeah.
Yeah, I think like we just went in with like great, like just set expectations. Like, look, I'm prioritizing like 2 or 3 signatures. Really wanted to get Nick Dragata's signature, got that. Really wanted to see David Nakayama, and then it's like time permitting, I'll try to get the Scott Snyder, but I'm only going to be there for a day. I know that line's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Achieve my goals. So it's just like cool. You know, a lot of waiting in line, a lot of standing, but you meet cool people along the way. It's great. Just great networking, great vibes.
Yeah.
And he was in fucking full costume, Chad.
Where'd you go as?
Dude, we got to show him some fucking videos. So he. So he was dressed up in like a 100% head to toe original costume, straight mask, hat, fucking
awesome.
like everything, literally from head to toe.
I love seeing that stuff.
He even had contact lenses.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, he was turning heads, bro. Like we were in the convention, and there were people dressed as like some of your favorite superheroes.
Yep.
And people were stopping in their tracks and like, who the fuck is that? Like there was like a few people that were there behind tables charging people for
And
they're like, whoa,
Yep.
I need a picture with you, and they got
She's
around
great.
the table. So yeah, no, it was a really good experience.
Conventions are fantastic. So if you're an indie creator, like my first convention I'm doing this year is up in Boston. It's Comics in Color.
Comics in Color. When's that?
It's end of the month. No, beginning of next month.
Okay.
It's in Boston. It's a one day free event. Like I'll have a table up there. I went last year, which I only had the preview book last year. Sold out of everything that I brought up. So like it did really well. I sold out all the posters, sold out everything that I had. I think I brought home like 3 things and that was it. And I was like, this was a good little, and just a little convention, free to get in. The people there are great. It's all creators of color there. They do a panel on Friday night. It's a small little panel. It's like a 5-person panel they do, and then you have the convention from 10 to 5 up in Boston at the Reggie Lewis Track and Field Center.
Okay.
So it's a fun little thing. It's nice and chill. They do a bunch of events. It's family friendly and everything like that. That's the small con that I'll always go back to. They're very welcoming. They respect everybody. They give everybody what they need. So that's one that I will always go to. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It doesn't matter if I get into larger cons. I will go to that one. I'll make time for that con. Because I think that's a big thing, is keeping everything to keeping your roots and never saying I'm too big for this, because a lot of people tend to do that, and that's where they kind of like, yes, they'll make money, but then they lose out on the people that actually respect them and want to get stuff from them and stuff like that. So that's where the balance of money and I guess humanity, it's like a comic book character at that point. And then we doing Heroes Con down in North Carolina in June.
I feel like someone was just telling me about that one.
Heroes Con is fantastic because that's just a comic book. There's less on like the anime. There's less on the voice actors. Less on the cosplay stuff. It's basically just comics and artists. Mm-hmm. That's really it. And that's a really good one. It's in Charlotte. I did well there. I didn't think I was going to do as well because that's when I first released issue 1. So I only had issue 1. And I was like, I'll probably sell 20 copies. I sold over 140 copies.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, this is
awesome.
great. I had retailers coming to buy books and stuff like that so they could stock up. So it was a good event with a lot of good people. There's a brewery down there where I did like the release party. They allowed me to do a release party. And I was like, you don't even know who I am and you're allowing me to do this. It was on Juneteenth, so I was like, this is perfect, right? It was like a whole perfect event. And so this year what we're doing, and we did a special cover for them. We did a Heist Brewery cover. So this year what we're doing for them, we're doing a one-shot with the characters, and their staff is making their own characters to be put into the story that I'm doing for a little one-shot.
Oh, wow.
So it's just fun really cool. Just to have with a place. We're doing it on Saturday night at Heroes Con. Mm-hmm. And then after that, because of other projects I'm working on, is Anime Conclave that's in August, where it's in New Orleans.
Okay. Dope.
Which that'll be a fun one. And
sick. New Orleans too.
It'll
be a fun weekend right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, kids.
How far in advance you have to get tickets for that? How big of a convention is it?
You can still get tickets. So like everything you can always get to. New York Comic Con sells out right away. Terrificon, even Kineticon. Kineticon sells out like instantly now. I remember when that first started.
Where's that held?
Kineticon's at the Hartford Convention Center. The one right on the water at the.
Okay.
So, but that one sells out instant. I'm like, I even tried to get a table there. Yeah, it's a whole weekend. I tried getting a table there, and they're like, no, we sold out. As soon as they posted it up, they sold out.
Oh wow.
I was like, man, I need to get into that one because that one's a good one to go to.
Oh, downtown.
Yeah, it started off in the XL Center, and then when they finished the convention center ballroom, then it moved over there. But like nobody was going to it. It was such a small convention.
Yeah.
They probably had like 5,000 people there for like a whole weekend. Now it's like you're talking tens of thousands of people there, filling that whole downtown area.
Crazy.
So conventions are fun.
Yeah, we're going to Comic-Con. Trying to remember. I got tickets for. Those fucking tickets sell out quick as hell.
Oh,
I was able to get a Thursday ticket and a Sunday ticket, so the bookends. One of my good friends from Sacramento, who's in my LA acting class. Long story, but he does. We're both like. We both Zoom in for acting class,
right.
But very talented actor, brilliant writer, but he's coming in, and then Chad too. So we're preparing for that.
That's a fun one.
It'll be my first time, man. We'll see.
Straight costume all day.
Yeah, yo, dude, he's gonna go nuts.
You have to. You have to. It's a lot of fun. You know what's crazy about it? This is what I was talking about, like being people of color and being put in a box is like you never thought about doing cosplay and all this growing. You know, it's like Halloween, you're like, nah, I'm just going as myself. You know, like you never really did anything. So it's being able, and being in my 40s now, it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, no, I'm still doing this. And now having kids, like my kids are like, oh, we need to get our costumes ready. We need to do this. We need to do that. So it's fun bringing that atmosphere of it to where, you know, my father comes in, he supports. Then you've got my generation. Now you got my kids in there. Even my grandmother who hates just about everything. No, she doesn't hate everything, but you know, she's born in the 30s, so you know, but she's reading the comics.
Oh, that's sick, dude.
And she's getting into things, and she's
What is she like?
excited
What is she
about
like?
stuff. My comic, but
There you go. That's what I like to hear. Grandma know what's up.
no, but she's looking at superheroes now, and she's starting to watch the superhero movies.
Okay. Yeah, that's
You
dope.
know, so it's one of those things where, you know, when you talk about these comics and what they are, you span from 90-year-olds all the way down to 4-year-olds or younger. You know, so it's a huge subculture. Oh, actually, mainstream culture. It's not even a subculture. So that's the good part about it. And when you have a good story, then people just, you know, because I've sold to, when I was at Terrificon, I sold from a 87-year-old man to a 3-year-old kid, and just all in between.
That's dope.
And it's fun to sit there, sign books, and talk to people about your project and say what's going on. And it's like everybody's so intrigued with it, and they're like, you're like, oh, do you want me to sign the book? Because some people are purists, and they're like, no, don't sign my book. But to see somebody's face light up when I say, hey, well, what color do you want it signed in? Because a lot of people don't sign in different colors. They say, no, this is the color I'm signing in, that's that. I tell people, what color do you want me to sign in? I can pick a color? Yeah. Well, how much is that going to cost? Nothing. You bought the book, you get a signature. It's plain and simple. I
didn't know people were big on colors until we went to the Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And they were big on the blue signature.
Blue, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until we went recently.
Yeah, and then then sometimes it depends on the color of the cover too. You want like a marker that's gonna pop out. And then I heard that different colors have different staying power, or like you have to, like with the silver ones, I heard you gotta like wait and let that shit dry, because if you just take it and start stacking your books, it'll smear.
Yeah, so there's different types of markers that you can use too. So I have acrylic. My problem with like acrylic or paint markers is, and just regular base paint markers, is that if they get rubbed up against, you see where it just cuts right through it, and it just pulls off it doesn't have a high staying power.
Yeah.
So if that's not going to be encased right away, then you have a higher chance of that signature being scratched off. I like to use oil base, because oil base will go onto the cover nicely, and then just basically is like becomes part of the book. It doesn't bleed through, it doesn't do anything, because I do the cardstock covers. But yeah, so it stays on the book. You can't really scratch it off, can't do anything to it. So there are different things like that. And then I do, when people ask for special stuff, I do have a gold and I have a chrome. So the chrome I'll do like right over the sword, and it looks like the sword's shining at that point.
Nice.
And then the gold is just a nice, gold is just always nice. People like gold.
Yeah.
But I do the purples, I do the blues, I do red, I do yellow. So it just depends on what people want.
I especially like the remarks when they're done in like a gold or a silver.
Yeah, the artist that did one of the covers, he does, you know, he's doing the remarks, and I'm like, how much do you want for the remark? He's like, I'm just excited I got to do a cover, because it's his first published cover. So he's like, I'm doing the remarks for free for you. He's like, you can sell them for whatever you want. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. But like, I was like, if you were going to sell it for a certain price, how much would you sell it for? And I remember I sent him money. He goes, what is this for? I go, no, somebody bought your remark when we were at the con. They paid $100 for the book, because the remark. And I was like, you don't have to pay that. It's $10. And like, no, that remark is worth $100. So I was like, okay. So I sent him a amount for $90, and he's like, why'd you just send me $90? And I go, that's what you get for doing the remark. He's like, you could have kept it, I would have never known. And I was like, yeah, but I would know. So all the artists that I get to do the covers, They all can sell. I'll give them comp books. They can sell them. They can do art prints. They sell them. That's all their money, 100%. And I pay them for the work as well. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, you're not getting paid for the work. I'm giving you all this. No, I pay them for the work, and then they get to keep whatever they sell from that they have. That's the best way to go about it. And I think artists don't get enough respect to get that because everybody always wants something back.
Yeah, man. I think the best business is like, talent, art, and business. They need each other, and I think a lot of times, like the business side, over exercises its leverage on talent who don't know business. And I think the best harmony is when there's just honest and fair play. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. And then the quality of work you get back too, because if I sit there and say, no, you can't make any money on this, you need to pay me for everything you sell. The next time I go to them and ask them for work, they're either going to upcharge me more or the quality's not going to be as good. Mm-hmm. And that's how I look at everything. Like even when at the conventions, a kid came up to me and said, well, I know your book is $10, but I only have $5, and I really want to get your book, but the actor's signature was more expensive. And I go, if you have $5, yeah, I'll take $5. I'm not going to say no. Even if you're an adult coming up to me and say, hey, I have $5, that's all I have left. You could lie to me if you want to, but it's getting the story out there.
Yeah,
and that's my whole business model on that. Now $2, I'll be like, okay, that's, you can look at it, you can read it right. It's all the fun of the conventions. Because I remember being a kid and having so much fun at the conventions and going to them that I want everybody to have the same experience that I remember having as a kid. So that's the whole goal of doing everything with S.Comics, and that's what I'm trying to push.
You got a great product, bro. The books look great. The covers look great. You want to just run through a few of the variant covers?
Yeah, so I'll just go through. I mean, this right here is the main cover right here. This one was actually inspired by the old samurai movies and the old Western movies, because a lot of old Western movies actually took samurai culture. So like Magnificent Seven is actually a remake of Seven Samurai.
Oh,
and my father used to try to get me to watch Magnificent Seven so many times. So I finally watched it with him, and I was like, Dad, come with me real quick. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, we're going to watch a different movie. So I had him watch Seven Samurai. He goes, wait, so this was all I go, yeah, it was just a remake to American culture.
Wow.
So having the background with the rising sun and, with the sword drawn like that, this was more or less for my father. That's 100% for him on that one.
That's dope.
And then this one here, this is the artist, is Michael Borens. He goes by Michael Illustrator on social media. Fantastic artist. This is his first published cover. He asked me what I wanted, and I gave him ideas. He sent me a bunch of thumbnails. He's like, which one do you like the best? And the thumbnails that he sent me were all fantastic. You know how hard it was to pick because he's such a great artist? I was like, let's do this one, because I don't want to give too much away on the cover, and I want this to be a cover that's a staple.
That's a good one. I think that's my favorite pose. Between that one and then there's I think it's a pure ink one. It's black and white.
That's Rhiannon Owens. She's a fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, those are my two favorite covers for issue 1, I believe.
Yeah. Actually, you have this one right here?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, let's get that out.
Let's pull that one up.
Yeah, that one right there. That one's fire to me. That one really stood out.
So this one here, I went to GalaxyCon in North Carolina, and I wasn't doing anything except for just being there. I ran into Rhiannon Owens. I saw her work. She was working on a Chun-Li piece. And I was like, this is phenomenal. I was like, and then the next day I go over there. She's like, yeah, I finished the Chun-Li piece. She was working on a Transformers Optimus Prime. I'm like, what can't you do? Because normally when people have a certain style, they tend to stick to that style. She can pretty much do any of it and really well. And so I told her, I was like, well, I'm coming out with a book. I want you to do a cover. She goes, really? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, how many covers have you done before? She goes, none. She goes, she does the Marvel and DC. She does the trading cards.
Okay.
But she's asked to do work for covers. She's never got selected for those covers.
I see.
So I said, well, no, I'm going to have you do a cover. So it was then the next year when I sent her a message, I was like, yes, I'm going to need that cover now. She started laughing. She's like, I thought you were just joking about that. I was like, no, I need a cover. So she's like, oh, I'm going to get that done right away. And she was like, well, can you send me some samples? And I draw as well, so I have all the samples set up. And so I sent them to her, and I said, do it however you like. I want you to do the artwork how you want to do it. So again, she sent me the thumbnails, and I was like, okay, I want that one with the one wing, perfect. And yeah, I got that back, and I was like, she sent me the inks first, and I was like, I need to use the inks. I love the black and white.
Bro. I don't know, it's something
and then
about
the color as well, because it gives two different feels, which is interesting. So when you have it as black and white, Donovan's face more peaceful, more calming, and then when she added the colors and the shading, now he has this serious look on his face. So I was like, this is interesting. I like that duality of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I saw her at the at Heroes Con last year, and we sold out of that. So I didn't bring that many because when I did the Kickstarter, it didn't do as well in the Kickstarter as I thought it would. And so I brought 47 copies with me. I brought 20 of the black and white, 27 of the color. I was out of it on Saturday mid-afternoon. I was all out. And it had to do, some of it with her being there, but you know, a lot of it was they just loved that cover and they ate it up.
It's my favorite.
And it's one of those things where it was like, I was like, yeah, so for this cover here, what I was doing with that is I said, $15, it'll be signed by me and she'll sign it as well. That way, because what's hard to do too is when you have an artist there is to send them over to the artist and the artist's like, oh, it's another $5. And I explain this to people up front. I go, no, you just pay the $15 here. I send the money up to the artist. You're good to go. Here's a little ticket. So they brought the ticket up to her. She signed it. I sent her the money and good to go. So she did really well with that one. She loved that one because, you know, 2 books, $10 a book, you know, so. And it was bringing her business and they were buying all her other artwork as well.
Okay.
She does a really good storm. She loves doing the Mohawk storm.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the fin.
Yeah. Edgy look.
Yeah. So, you know, it's fun getting the artists. And then, like I said, with issue 1, I had, because I did the Kickstarter, I had 12 different variant covers and stuff like that, and I had special Kickstarter exclusive covers.
Real quick, I want to ask you about the Kickstarter. You used Kickstarter to launch this series. How, like, do you advise that? Is that a great way to sort of like round up funds you need to launch a quality product, or do you recommend that?
Kickstarter is interesting. So, it's a good way to get funds. One of the things with Kickstarter is that, yes, it's a good way to put your product out there.
Yeah.
People will back it. You have to make sure you have a core group of people that'll back it right away too, so then it looks like the product has traction.
That momentum, yeah.
Right. You know, and what I've noticed with Kickstarter is that you'll have somebody like me who's like, this is a, you know, black character, black writer, black artist. It did well, and I'm not gonna say it didn't do well. I made all my funds within 6 days. So it took me 6 days to fund the whole project, and then everything after that was just all extra. So it was perfect.
That sounds great. Yeah.
It was great, and then you know, I ran into one issue after it funded where in trademarking is a funny thing, right? So I have everything trademarked, copywritten, and everything like that. No issues with trademarking or copywriting because Project S.A.V.I.O.R, S.A.V.I.O.R is an acronym for Saving All Valued in Our Realm. So it's not the same. There was somebody in the UK that had this project that was called Project S.A.V.I.O.R, spelled completely different. But titles on books are not trademark infringement. It's not infringing on anything. It would have to be me taking your whole character. He created a character that was just basically Batman, and he was trying to say that his people thought he had created this new thing. And nobody did. I had nobody from the UK back the project. I had nobody asking me if I was this person or that person. But Kickstarter, they do a limited investigation, and they pulled all the money from the project. So that's one of the downsides. Somebody can go on there
during the investigation.
At the end of it, yeah, they pulled it. Yeah, so it took longer to get the money to clear and do all this stuff. So I had like a 6 or 7 month setback from that, and I put my own money in it anyway because it's my project, my baby. I'm going to take care of it no matter what. But I just thought Kickstarter was a good way to get it out there, push to more people.
It's a good way to get to brand it, market it, right? Like it's not just about the money. It's just a good way for people to discover.
Right, and most of the money for it was to do all the variant covers, because every artist, I have to pay every artist, and then all the books, and doing metal covers, and doing like foil covers, and all these extra things. Those cost way more. I don't suggest it right off the bat if you're going to do something like that, but I wanted to have fun with it. So I ended up putting a lot of my own money into it, and then I got the Kickstarter money back, and it was fine. But Kickstarter is a good way to push it out there. The algorithm, it's kind of like social media too, is you have to push it. But then certain social media say you can't really push your Kickstarter. You can mention it, but then we start hiding your post and doing this and doing that. So it's an interesting mix. You have to have a good group of friends to kind of say they're going to back it and then just put into it. And then you have, you get 50 people to like it. Whether they back it or not, it shows 50 people like it. You get 300 people to like it. Now that project, in the first 20 minutes, you fund your project. It's all about the optics. Yeah. So being a new creator, new book,
your promo got to be on point. If you can't go into it with a solid promo, like plan, team, and things already in place to really get attention to your thing, you can be successful on Kickstarter.
You have to have a solid marketing plan. I did not. I am not a marketing professional. I have high charisma. I know how to get along with people, but I have to be in front of your face to do it. And some of the stuff I didn't understand about Kickstarter, like I should have done a promo video, I should have done this. And I had just gotten into the point where I was like doing Twitch. I was going on social media, actually doing videos on social media. I was doing live streams. But all this is new, it's like growing up in the generation when I had a Macintosh computer where it was this like dual all-in-one. I'm using this big floppy disk running DOS and everything like that. Yeah. To like now where we are today, it's like I backed away from computers. I didn't get my first laptop until I was in college. It's one of those things where it's not like we grew up with all this stuff and we just had it immediately. Like my kids do better with. I have an 8, 7, and a 4-year-old. They know more about social media than I. They know all the TikTok stuff and all this other stuff. They're like,
might have to
Dad,
outsource
you got to
it.
do this. Right? Well, now I'm a lot better with it, and I know how to beat the algorithms and do all the other stuff, but it's just knowing that stuff and being comfortable with it. Yeah. I was never comfortable as a public speaker until later on.
Gotcha.
So, it was when I was doing interviews for sports, it was like, yep, I just ran really fast. I just shot the ball. I was one of those interviewers where it was like, oh, there's no depth to what you're saying at all. They'd have to kind of like juice it up for me. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. But
I also want to get to the I don't know. Do you call it a statue? Do you call it a figure?
It's a statue.
A figurine.
You can hold it. There you go.
I feel like it's the prototype.
You won't break it. Don't worry.
Donovan here.
So
check this shit
what
out.
I did is the main character Donovan. We did this is the prototype statue. So the paint, the color, and everything like that. The artist here, Michael Borens, he did all the. Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. He did the initial concept art for it. We got the 3D modeling done, and then I have 3D printers where I printed it out. And it was just to get the sizing right because it's all different parts. And then I wanted to play around with the colors to see what colors I liked best for it. Because I didn't want it to be like one of one of, just this color scheme. I wanted to have fun with it.
Okay.
So, doing some of the constants, like the gray pants, it's a dark gray gunmetal shirt, black gloves. I knew that was going to be a constant. Headband being red, yes. Yeah. The sheaths, I was thinking back and forth on how to do them. If, do I want to go far enough into the future where you see different things? Or do I want to keep it basic? I was like, the basic, I think I want to stick with the basic. So that way it doesn't give too much away for what's to come. Because there's going to be a lot to come with his gear, with the upgrades, even costuming. They don't wear the same costumes all the time. I have the second character, Brody, which is right here. I have a Brody statue coming out too.
He seems like a character. I ain't gonna lie. He's like the loose and fun one. While Donovan
he is. That's
more like. Yeah.
So a little bit about Brody, and you can kind of see it to where yes, he pulls the pranks. He doesn't care with the outcome, and you see where in issue 2, he does have control over wind. So he can use that in a multitude of ways, and it's not the simple of I just have super speed. He has to use the wind and manipulate the wind and the air currents to move at accelerated rates. and that can push him anywhere, catching on to jet streams in the air. And I looked up a lot of stuff on trying to figure out how am I going to use wind to do this? Mm-hmm. And then I saw the movie Morbius, and I was like, let's not make purple wind. And I understand the purpose behind it, because Morbius can't actually fly. He rides the jet streams, and that's how he creates the flight pattern. In the way they did in the movie, I was like, I get what they were going for, but making it purple and all this stuff, I was like, you missed a lot of people. I think it's hard. I think that's the hard part about it, and because people have talked to me about, well, if you wanted an animation done or you wanted a movie done, like, what would you do? And I was like, make sure whoever had the rights to it could do everything I wanted them to do. And that's why I would never sell my book to any company, because that's where you miss out on that stuff. And that's why Morbius, they had to come up with new villains and all this other stuff. So Brody's an interesting character. And then you have, and a lot of the characters deal with duality. So, Brody, still being that fun-loving character, still has a serious side to him when he gets to that point. And
seems very loyal, too.
He's extremely loyal. And then you have, in issue 3, you get introduced to Mizuko, who's the first female protagonist. And you see her duality as well, of being the shy, meek. And, when you look at Asian culture and, following family footsteps, family businesses, and family orientation, they're very big on family stuff. And I wanted to tie into that of where she wants to do the right thing for her family, but now she has this ability, and what does that all mean? How does it tie in? So from being this shy, meek, quiet girl doing the right thing for her family to this, she becomes a very battle-hardened, serious, but still the fun and still about that family culture, and still shy and meek. So it's like everybody has that side to where it's doing what's right and also still having your personality, because those two things, I think we all clash with that. Like when we go to work, when we're dealing with friends, when we're dealing with situations, is that sometimes we have to turn that switch on. And it's not the same person as that everyone's used to saying, oh, he's real serious now, or oh, how's he joking around? He's always so serious. Look at the smile, Yeah. So it's playing with those dualities that we all have, and introducing the powers in new ways as well. Like Mizuko, you can see in issue 3 where she controls water, her tears, and in not making it a water bender, not making it like Mr. Freeze, not making these things, and making it something that is different and unique. It's still going to have some of those elements where you can see it, and relate to those other things, but how she uses it fully it was fun to create, but also it's a challenge to try to create new things with what you have. Because then when you get into the people that have power over fire, how do you make that interesting? Everybody uses fire. So it's how do you make it different?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting with Mizuko how she has those big eyes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with anime culture and stuff, you had said, I'm gonna make superpowers of this. Use the water, use the tears. I thought that was pretty cool. Really cool.
And that's how the blending of everything is. And you see the some of the stylization of things. Like you picked up on the character. She does have the larger eyes. Yes. She has more of that anime look to it. And I wanted to use it to show culture, to show different things, and to have it to where you got that feel to it, right? Yep. And having the bigger eyes, and the reason why in anime and manga they have the bigger eyes is because it's so expressive with the eyes. You can do so many things with it. When you have smaller eyes that are more humanistic eyes, you can only go so far of squinting and stuff like that. And so that's some of the play around with it as well, and trying to make it still look realistic.
Yes. No, I thought that was really cool, and I thought it was unique, man, because I respect it. It's hard to make superpowers and try to make it, like you said, different. Yeah. How can fire be different? How can ice be different? How can super strength be different?
That's what was the challenge with Donovan, is to make it, make it cool, fun, still keep him human, and have these great poses and gestures with the statue. Right. I was like, man, how am I going to do a statue that looks fun? Because everyone does the same stuff.
Exactly.
So having the two swords out, drawn, and taking away some of the other aspects of it, and
his pose and his hair. I like the hair actually flapping around. Yeah. The pose, the boots. I love everything about Donovan. I love he just shows strength.
Yeah.
Wisdom, strength, and just discipline. I feel like.
it was interesting creating everything because I did go through other processes to make statues.
Right.
So I used different little 3D printing studios to begin with because I didn't have 3D printers at first.
Right.
And so when I saw like you did your statues for the Zig Studios, I was like,
Yes.
oh, I use them.
Yes.
I use them as well.
Yes.
And it's just the price point was so high. And I get it, you know, they're designing, they're doing everything, and they're making it work.
Right.
And like, so I get the price point, and then it's like, but how can I sell that to people?
Good point.
So then I was like, okay, I need to design it in a new way.
Right.
So let me see where I can bring my cost way down. And then I was like, all right, let me just start designing them myself.
Right.
And
You did a damn good job.
yeah, I did one, like the little ones that I gave you guys. I did those on, it was Hero Forge. And what that is D&D mock-up.
Okay.
So they have where you can make the D&D characters, and they have so many customizations to, they had the dreads, they had, you know, all the stuff to make Donovan, they had all the stuff to make Brody.
Right.
They had all the stuff to make Mizuko, and just in fun little ways. And they're not perfect, but they're original, they're fun, they show my characters, showcase the characters, so those are easy to print out, and those were quick and easy to do.
Right.
Just for a quick, you know, when I go to the conventions, here's a $25 little statue. It doesn't really cost me anything to do it, so why not? And then this, I was like, I want to have a solid one to do a limited edition run of the Donovan statues.
Right.
And I made one that was smaller to start with, that was a little, it's about like six inches tall.
Okay.
And then I was like, let's see how big I can actually make it and see the quality that goes into it. So now I think this is the size I'm going to use. And then, you know, looking at all the price points to have the limited edition comic that has that pose on it,
Okay.
that goes inside the box, and then make a collector's box with it and do, you know, 51 of them. Because like I said, my numbers 5 and 51,
Yes.
those are the numbers I use.
Those are numbers,
So
yep.
making a limited edition series of 51 and saying like, that's all that'll be made. I'll make smaller ones, or I'll just make them, but they won't have the box, they won't have the comic, it'll just be the statue itself. And, you know, making it to where it's this unique thing that only a certain amount of people will have.
Yeah, that's
You
cool.
know, so-
That's really cool. And you talked about too the D&D models. That I feel like gave you so much practice, great practice to even get to this point. The guy I worked with, Matt Ryan, he's like,
I know,
he's like
Matt
my
Ryan,
mentor pretty much. Like, but like he used to say, hey, listen, you want to work on these D&Ds, you want to come paint, you're more than welcome to. I always used to be like so focused on the comic book and the process of the comic book. I didn't realize down the line, I'm like, you know, I always wanted to get into figures. And I'm like, yo, I should work on this now. And it's cool to hear you learn the process of, hey, listen, I'm going to work on these small figures, paint, and now look at you. You got a beautiful Donovan figure here. And I'm just like, you know, it really inspired me to say, I need to get back on D&D figures and get back to painting, because I know I had to teach you patience, number one.
Oh, 100%.
I had to teach you patience, because those figures are small, and you're just seeing people actually, watching Matt do, I'm like, you have to have extreme patience to do this, because one little mistake, you're like, you could mess it up, but also too, it teaches you a lot.
Yeah, the paint values of everything, and like learning how to mix the paint together to get the perfect color, because the skin color, that's not just one paint. I had to mix black into it. I had to mix a darker brown. I had to mix a white into it to just try to get the skin color just right.
Right.
You know, so it's a lot of different values that go into it. And then, you know, obviously you can get into like the cell shading to make it look more manga or anime style, or you can do the actual solid black shading to make it look more comic style. So there's so many different ways to get your statue created and do it out. Mm-hmm. And like, that's one of the fun and challenging parts at the same time. And having that patience to sit there and say like I was telling you guys before, is that sometimes 2 hours is my limit. Like, I'm just like, I can't, I'm very active playing sports all the time. I'm a locksmith by trade, so I'm always out and about, running around, you know, unlocking cars, unlocking doors. Like, it's always an active thing, so it's not a lot of sitting around. So when I sit there, even writing and like doing all the scripting for each issue, it's like, all right, I got to do something. Like, I can't, sitting
different.
here is just like, it's rough.
Yeah.
So but the painting is, it does bring a lot of peace though.
Okay.
It brings a lot of calm.
Yep.
and it's like, okay, I need to get this done, and then I can break it up. Okay, this needs to dry now,
Right.
so I'm going to work on this, and
Right.
then that needs to dry, and then I'm, kind of cycle back through. So
You got a great routine basically going now. After you're doing that.
I think that's a big key to everything, and I think one of the movies that actually showed that the best was I Am Legend.
Really?
Is that keeping a routine keeps your sanity.
That is true. That is true.
So-
That is very true.
Because if you go into painting and you're just like
Damn, that was a good one.
just going
it
all
was.
over with it, and you don't have a routine to say, okay, I'm going to take this part first, this part, this part, this part, and I'm going to work with this color, then this color, then this color, and you don't do that, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Right.
And that lesson from that movie, I think that'll always stick with me. Is just that one part.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie, the rest of the movie was good, don't get me wrong. But when he was talking about just keeping that routine, so like, yes, every day my alarm goes off at 5:15. I don't get up right away.
Right.
But that's starting my wake up process.
Yep.
And then I keep that process to where, I moved to second shift now, which kind of threw off my routine.
Yep.
But it's going down to create, going down to do this.
Yes.
Making breakfast for my family, and just keeping all that in check.
Yes.
Actually helps.
Yes.
And that keeps a good mental stability for doing multiple things
I
and
agree
keeping
with you.
everything in line.
I agree with you. I was out of work for a bit. I was over getting up at 5 something in the morning. I'm like, I'm gonna go work out. I'll go work out, come back home, work on the script. And that routine helps you just build. You start seeing stuff build within your business. It's through your comics, through your art. And yeah, you are so right, Mr. Cherry. You are right about that, man. I also too want to show you. I'll show you the figures. I work with Zig Studios.
Yeah.
So I'll show you guys. This is Sarah Blaze.
There we go.
This is Miss Sarah Blaze. And then
We'll move Donovan over. We
okay,
can put
okay.
them up.
This is Miss Sarah Blaze right here.
Yeah, I like that.
Fire mixed with marshmallow.
Can we get a quick little 360?
Oh,
Yeah,
360, yes.
There's a lot of detail.
Yes.
There is a lot of with the fire,
Yes,
the
the
marshmallow.
fire, the marshmallow, and then her leather jacket.
Yeah.
Her boots as well, and boots mixed with gym socks. So yeah, I work with Zig Studios as well. Thank you, Zig Studios. And this was like honestly one of my favorite design. Well, both of them are my favorite design. All my designs I love. So, and then this is Mr. Ty Chillings. Ty Chillings here with his glasses. Sarah is fire manipulation, and Ty Chillings is ice manipulation. So. And the actual shirt itself is quick story about the shirt. So I was big into The Simpsons and stuff.
Yeah.
And jazz and I like jazz too. And I used to watch Lisa Simpson play the saxophone. I used to always coordinate the actual notes, the music notes, as jazz notes. So I always say, oh, those are jazz notes. And but I found out the music notes. But I always used to say jazz notes. Now I'd be like, okay, my sister's name is Jazz. So I used to always be like, oh, jazz notes. I always used to say the same thing. So it's kind of paying homage to my sister, and also
Nice.
too paying homage to art and music. So some of my favorite things. So this is Ty Chillings, and Ty loves to match his clothes, a little bit. So yeah. And again, shout out to Zig Studios, and yeah, I learned a lot from 3D printing. That it is. It's a little pricey, but you learn, you live and you learn, and yes, it's learning through you and learning yourself, and that you could get 3D prints your own, and you could actually paint this stuff.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a fun process. Like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, I love the fact that you could go get it all done,
Yep.
even just getting the 3D print done and painting it yourself. But it's one of those things. How much time do you want to put into it? You value your own time, because time's something you can't get back, so you have to put a price on it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but it's one of those things where
If
these
you-
are
if you
these are
really-
great, and Zig Studios they do a good job
Yes,
of
they
giving
do.
that feel to it, and like that fun look to the
Yes.
to the characters and the statues that they do.
And they were patient. They took their time. I could be, a pain in the ass in the sense if I don't like something, I'm gonna say, hey, listen, can we change this? But they were very patient with me, and I appreciate working with them. And for me, they actually motivated me to get back or to really focus on getting figures, because I think just figures bring that different element of your character. You get to see something, and people will appreciate it well.
It's a tangible thing, and I think that's why comics will never go away.
Yes,
Is
I
that
agree.
it's a tangible thing you can hold. Same with books, because you can go onto a Kindle right now, buy any book you want, but people are still buying hard copies because
Yep.
there's a different feel to it. It's this interesting thing where I have it. It's mine. It's not just digitally in the air somewhere.
Yes.
Because it's funny, I sell more physical copies than I do digital copies, and I have digital copies for sale. If people would rather buy the physical copy, pay shipping, than buy a digital copy just to have.
Yeah, because they see that, they feel it. And then plus, also, too, you talked about the signing. When you can sign it and meet the person, like all that human connection, it's never going to leave.
Just start signing tablets on people, ruining people's screens by signing their tablet. But yeah, no, it is one of those things that, in having statues up, people like the statues because anything physically they can hold, they gravitate to.
Yes.
And it's funny you said that being a creator, being a pain in the ass. Listen, that is like that's part of status quo. That is part of the job of being a creator because at the end of the day, the way I look at everything is my book, my creation, it's like a child.
Right.
And, I understand that people will take their work and sell it because it's easier to sell and just collect a check bag.
Right.
But when you take away that creative freedom that you had to create it on your own and you're just going with a publishing company or whatever the case may be, you lose a lot of it. And I look at what happened with Game of Thrones. He sold to HBO, and now we'll never know the true ending of Game of Thrones because it's not his work.
Good point. Yeah.
He didn't get to finish writing his books. And then he was like, well, I need to finish writing my books. And I'm like, no, you sold it to us.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of creators, they get stunted because if I came up to you and offered you $300,000, you'd be like, oh, I'm going to take $300,000. Now that company takes and is like, oh, we see this as a $10 million outcome. Now they make $10 million. You look at, in most recent times, K-pop Demon Hunters, just on Netflix, that Sony said, we're not sure how this is going to turn out. We're going to sell it to Netflix for $20 million. It's a $2 billion property now. And it's got sequels. They've got statues from Sideshow. They've got all the Barbie even picked it up with Mattel Creations. So you're selling all of this stuff now that Sony now kind of lost out on because they were like, oh, we're not sure about this. And if they just released it, they would have, 10 times the amount of their money.
People love the storylines. Don't take it for profit, man.
Right.
I feel like profit always kills everything. It's like when people can relate to the characters, relate to the storyline, relate to the art, relate to everything, just let that play out. The money eventually is going to come, but it shouldn't be the first of everything. It should be about the actual story. When people relate and see it, they're going to be like, hey, listen, I will take this, and I will put... We see people actually be like, when they see a trailer, and they love the trailer and they know it's authentic, they're like, hey, listen, take my money now.
Yeah, take my money now.
I can't wait for it. Like Avengers Doomsday, people already saw it. It's not even the trailers. They're telling a story, but when they see it, they're like, hey, listen, I'm already into it. They seen the X-Men, everything.
People are falling for the AI art of like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
They haven't even released it yet. And they're just like, just take my money.
Yes.
I mean, I just watched the trailer for Anderson .Paak. He's got a movie that he directed, produced, and everything like that. It's called K-Pops, which it's out in theaters, but it was like a limited release. But I watched the trailer with my daughter, and she's into all the K-pop stuff. But it looks like it's just a good family story from the trailer, and it's like, yeah, I'll go see that. I don't know anything about it really, except for that he's a failed musician living in Korea, and he's doing karaoke nights, and he meets his son for the first time, and it's like. It's very, but it seems fun because it seems like a family friendly, and to see Anderson .Paak, who great producer, production value, when he joined up with Bruno Mars to do Silk Sonic, like that was a fantastic album because it brought me back to the past of like classic jazz and blues and just that classic vibe of like the 70s and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, this is good. So production value wise, I'm like, he's a good producer, but then seeing him do a movie production, I'm like, oh, this cool. Looks pretty good. Yeah,
it's different. It
is something different and family friendly where I wouldn't be afraid to take my kids to see the movie.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose. Like you talked about, 90s. You can sell to a 70-year-old. You can sell to a 3-year-old. It brings that generation in. And I agree with you, Cherry.
One person I know who sold their story way back when, I've talked to him about it, was Tim Seeley.
Okay.
He did the new like Nightwing Rebirth. He did issues 1 through till they came up with that Rick Drayson or whatever, that really bad storyline that came out with Rebirth of Nightwing. But Tim Seeley, he came out of college and he had that hack slash comic where it was he had his characters versus all the nightmare horror villains like Freddy, Jason, and all that. And so he created that. He sold the rights to it because he wasn't sure where it was going to bring him. They gave him a lot of money for it, and that property's worth millions now.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with a TV show, which he's got the rights back to the TV show, but TV show on Sci-Fi, which is Revival. That's his work from comics that they made, and it's the #1 show on Sci-Fi and on TV. Is Revival. That. So, it's one of those things where we were talking about. He's like, yeah, never sell your work. He's like, the money looks good up front, but then when you see what it is, and the property's worth, he goes, always hold on to it. And even if it doesn't do well in the beginning, if it has a boom, now you're making millions of dollars where from just a passion project that you did.
You're right, Cherry, and that's kids need to hear that. You guys need to hear that. You understand that. That is a gem right there. If you listen to anything on this podcast and take anything, take that right there. Appreciate your work, appreciate your art. Don't sell it for the money. Keep it, be passionate about it, because that's all you got sometimes. But all you got is just enough.
Right.
It's really just enough, and the money will come, but the passion and the love for it, that's what means the most.
Now, if you have a throwaway story, go ahead, by all means, sell that. It's something that you never even wanted to do to begin with. You only have like a pilot for it or like a little intro to it.
Yep.
Go ahead and sell it, because if you have no mission to finish it, let somebody else do it.
Let somebody else do it. That's pretty good.
But,
that's good.
But no, if you have a passion project where you created, never give it up.
Yes, I agree with you, Cherry. I agree with you.
Right now, or something that you've read recently that
Okay. I'll tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm reading just Ice Cream Man. I'm getting on Ice Cream Man Volume 2. I need to finish that. Ice Cream Man #1, Volume 1 was pretty dope. This guy is, take a quote from Wayne, Mr. Wayne, he is not a nice man. He is not a nice man.
No.
He is an evil man.
Yes.
But I'm really fascinated by the story. I think it's great, and I need to finish that story as well. But I say that is because, what are you reading? I wanted to ask. What are you reading currently? I know you work on your comic book a lot. I understand the process sometimes process of developing this gets away from reading. But if you are reading anything right now, what are you reading?
I still read a lot. The current things I'm reading right now are basically indie comics. So Stranger Comics whole lineup. I'm going through all that whole The Untamed, Tales of Asunda, Niobe, She Is Life, Niobe, She Is Death. All his books from Sebastian Jones, who created this whole universe. I'm going through all his stuff again. I've read it before, but it's just like, to have a deeper understanding, he started with a poem and then created a comic from the poem. So I'm reading that. Another person, Jarius Brown, he released his basically like an Ash Can or a prequel story called Joe Black Must Die, Way of the Sword. Fantastic little, story that's developing. I have Damian Becton. I just got his new book in, and it's I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's a story where it's like Twisted Metal meets like hip hop.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good little run. I met him down at Heroes Con. I bought his.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, like Twisted Metal the video game. So, but it's based off of it's a lot of hip hop references in it to push the story forward. So basically, I go in any of the independent stuff that I can find, especially from people of color. I go and grab them. Okay. Which actually, I'm going to grab your books today. I've been so busy with it, so I'm actually running up there to go grab those books because I want to get into it. Because anytime I see things, and like I said, with powers and stuff like that, yes, where it's like, how do you make it an interesting way? And I saw, talking to you and how your characters are. That's interesting to me.
Appreciate it.
Because it's something new and different. Like, I think that's why the X-Men were so popular. Yes. And I do read all the standard Marvel, DC. I still keep up with Spawn, even though right now with Spawn, I'm just like, there's a lot going on, but it's just like, you got to the peak of, he's basically God, the devil. He's like everything all-encompassing and all-powerful at this point, to where it's like, what's left? Right. It's like when you get to the top, what's left to do, and you're just throwing random stories.
I mean, if it's only come right back down. That's the only thing. You have to come right
that's
back
what I'm
down.
hoping for is like he loses something and starts back at the beginning or something like that. But I read all that in the Absolute series. I go through and I read as much as I can.
Right.
It's just so much, like, so many different things.
It can be overwhelming.
It does, because I try to read everything. Like,
Right.
I was reading all the Punisher. I was reading all Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Falcon, or Captain America, with all the new stories with Falcon as Captain America. Green Lantern stuff. I love the Jon Stewart stuff. I go back, and when they made Jon Stewart the Emerald Knight, that was fantastic, because it's one of those things where that was the highest honor of a Green Lantern, and you only saw the white characters getting it. So to have Jon Stewart become the Emerald Knight, which is basically saying you are the strongest of the Green Lanterns. You are this peak performance of everything.
Right.
That makes it better. Like I said, the Flash, I keep up with that. Absolute. I'm not the biggest fan of Absolute, but it is.
Right.
It is there, and they're good. They're reads.
Drew loves Absolute. Since the first
Absolute
issue,
Batman,
Drew's been like
yes,
on it.
I saw that, and I knew that Absolute Batman was going to be huge.
Okay.
Absolute Superman, it had its peak up to like issue 4, and then it kind of dropped off a little bit, and it's picking back up again.
Okay.
Wonder Woman, how they're merging the stories together now. They're all like, they're meeting,
right?
And they're getting together to figure out everything. Like I said, we're talking about the Joker with the whole demon aspect of things and being this ancient entity thing. That it's interesting how they're tying everything together. So I do read a lot of stuff, and I read novels as well. So like, I read different fantasy stories. Right now, I'm reading one that is from Cy Foster. It's a futuristic, and basically creating like Krypton, how they create humans.
Okay.
And you'd be a scientist, you'd be a warrior, you'd be, however they wanted to make you. This story kind of follows along the lines of, well, what if you created somebody to be the ultimate weapon? And then their powers don't activate until they hit puberty, but they can destroy everything completely with just a thought.
So you almost have to be like Avengers in Infinity War, where they try to think about killing Thanos at the baby age. Yeah.
So like I said, I read all that stuff. I went back and I was rereading the Thor with Gore the God Butcher.
Okay.
Because I feel like that story for the movie could have been so much better.
Okay.
Because Gore is such a fantastic character, and they touched upon a little bit of it in the beginning of how he, the origin for him, of asking the gods, just for a little bit of help, and they basically just laughed at him. And like that's where the Necro sword and everything like that, they brought that out, and like they kind of shied away from making him to where like a Killmonger level villain in the movie.
Okay.
But you could see where what he was doing, he wasn't wrong.
Okay.
The gods were having this big party and all this other stuff, to where why aren't you helping the people? The people are all praying to you, and you're just doing whatever you want to do.
Doing your own thing. Yeah, that's a good point. I had another question for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's start with major comics. What do you think major comics like the DC and Marvel, what do you think the future holds for them? Both comic book wise and cinematic wise?
Future of comics now, I see them going to these blind bags.
Say that again?
The blind bags.
Okay.
So they're going to come out with new stories and stuff like that. Like I know, Absolute Batman is out. Now they're talking about a new Batman story. They're going back to the all-in stuff, and like they're doing round 2 of the all-in stuff. So it's like there's a lot going on with it, but it's going back to these mystery and blind bags, and I think they're doing really well with it. But the problem with the mystery and blind bags are I call them scalpers. I know they're resellers and stuff like that, but they're going through and already opening the bags, resealing them, so they're pulling out all the good stuff, and then they go on Whatnot and they sell them on Whatnot, and they're selling them for $40 a blind bag when you can get them from the store for $10.
Gotcha.
So that makes it hard for collectors and real fans of the books. Is that I want the book to read. I do love a beautiful cover, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I want the story.
Right.
And I think this merger of what's hard for the major comics is that there's a lot of nepotism. So it's like this daughter, this son is now writing for the books, and you're just getting the similar stories just retold from their kid.
Yes.
I think the artwork is going up because they are getting new talent for artwork.
Right.
So artwork is becoming fantastic. Story-wise, I can see where, if they start getting new creators in and new writers in, I think you'll see a huge shift.
Right.
But it's still, they want to go with tried and true.
Yeah.
And I think as they start stepping away from tried and true, and as more independent creators start coming out and writing their stories, I think you'll see more push towards independence coming out and making a change in the comic scene.
No, I agree.
Into the big three.
I agree. We talked about this, and I talked about it at IndieCon out there in New Haven, is that they keep making these same characters, just changing the stories. They either go from a male to a female, and they go all this stuff. There's nothing really original in these big major book companies.
Right.
And so I think eventually they're going to say to indie comic artists, hey, listen, you want to sign with us? Do you want to do this? That could be a pro and a con to that.
Right.
Do they want to take majority of your IP? How does that going to work out?
That's the hard part about it, right? Is that when these big companies approach you, is that yes, they say you keep 100% of your IP, but we're going to put all the risk into it and we're only going to give you 40%. So if you do something like that, you're not the majority holder in it anymore.
Right.
And if they decide to shelf your project, then you make zero.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel hopeful for Marvel, DC, and everything like that. But I feel like when we do get a great story coming out of it, like the peak of like the Sabretooth War for Wolverine, that was phenomenally written, drawn out, executed, and everything like that. And it told a great story. And then it was like after that, it was like, okay, we're done. Now we're on a new series completely of Wolverine. It's like, can we continue, continue going with it?
Yes.
So it's hard because they want new creators, they want this, they want that, so they keep changing things. And I think that's why we're seeing a push for manga, because you see manga more and more, because that's one creator writing a story the whole time.
Yes. It almost feels like, a little off topic, it almost feels like the WWE storylines. The storylines these lately has been like, hey, we're going to start this storyline, then we don't finish it.
Yeah.
We don't finish it at all. Now with the cinematic world, what's your take on DC and Marvel? Or
I think
the big company. Yeah, the big company.
I think Marvel owns the cinematic universes. I think James Gunn is creating something. The only issue with DC is that everything he's creating has been so overtold that it is. With DC, a lot of people are getting comic fatigue and comic movie fatigue with DC. Where Marvel's, pushing. They're not going back. Like, we're not getting another Iron Man. We're not getting another we did have the run with Spider-Man where we had, 3 different takes on Spider-Man, but they haven't gone back to a different Spider-Man anymore.
Right.
So, like, we're pushing forward with that stuff where DC just seems like we're on, like, our 5th Batman. We're on, it's not.
See, but I feel like
moving forward.
I feel like James Gunn might go out of that element. Like we talked about it at DC and how we don't know too many DC characters. We really don't. And so I feel like James Gunn is going to slowly say, okay, I'm gonna get the Batman and all that bullshit out, but I'm gonna get to the Green Lantern. I'm gonna get to Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
I'm gonna start pulling, Lobo.
Yeah.
We're gonna start getting there, but I just need to get these bullshit stories out because y'all want to hear this shit.
So
like Bat Family. We've been wanting Bat Family for how long?
I've been wanting a Nightwing movie since Chris O'Donnell had the nipples on the suit. Like, I was like, why would you put that on there? And you had the Nightwing emblem.
Right.
You did it. You showed me you had Nightwing. And then you make the costume this stupid thing with the big giant rubber suit. Like, I feel like Nightwing's costume shouldn't have been a rubber suit like Batman's. I feel like they should have changed it and they should have had him in either more tactical gear or like a more like, not necessarily a spandex suit, but something that was more movement oriented than what they had. And so movie wise, I just feel that DC, if James Gunn, if they give him continuation to it, then yes, he'll push it forward. But just my fear with DC is we're going to have a reset again.
See, I don't know if we're going. I don't know if I feel like reset. I am worried about with Marvel. I'm worried about. Okay, after you tell this X-Men saga, what else do you have left? What else do you have left after that? Because it's like X-Men, you could tell these stories for. Galaxy.
Silver Surfer.
But they dropped the ball with Silver Surfer. I feel like we Drew get on here. We're gonna have a whole nother podcast about Silver Surfer. I'm telling you.
I think the thing with Marvel though is that they do have great storylines that they could tell. They could dive into Planet Hulk.
Oh yes,
they could.
Yes, there've been rumors about that.
I mean, really getting into a Spider saga with, switching brains with Doc Ock. Like, you can do a superior Spider-Man.
Right.
You can do so many little things with it. I mean, they pull the X-Men in, but, even pulling in, like, different things like Ghost Rider.
Right.
You pull in a Ghost Rider aspect of it, because you're bringing Nightcrawler and you bring in, how he goes into the Brimstone in the Shadow Realm, and how, Mephisto thinks he's the devil, and Ghost Rider kind of laughs.
You bring those Midnight Suns in, it's a wrap. Yeah, I agree with that part.
There's so many different aspects of it. So you have so much creativity where that's why I said DC just keeps going to the kind of the big three over and over again, and like they'll step into the Flash.
Right.
They ruined that movie to me.
See, but I felt like that movie.
It should have been Bart Allen.
It should never even happen. No. But I feel like that movie for me is like they already committed to it. They were like, all right, we're just going to commit to it. But I mean, just the first scene alone when he saved the babies, I was like, this movie is god awful. Like, it should never happen.
So my wife turned it off because they put the baby in the microwave.
Yeah,
she was
exactly.
She's like, I don't care if the microwave was on or not.
Exactly.
She goes, for the fact that you put the baby in the microwave, she was done with that.
Yeah,
because then it's just like having children. It's like, all right, I can see her point on that. And it's like, I had to finish the disaster train. It's like watching a car accident. You just kind of watch it and you're just like, okay, what's going to happen? And you shouldn't be looking at it, but you do. And I think they would have been better off if they told the story from Bart Allen, which is Barry Allen's grandson from the future, coming back. And that would have made sense for him being clumsy, him being inexperienced. And when he went back to the future timeline, they could have had it to where it was the real Batman there. And he says, who are you? And it's not Barry Allen at all. And
do you think Zack Snyder should have continued the storyline?
I think he was going through a hard time, and I think what made it hard for him is everything that happened from the first movie, and what happened with his daughter, and all the tragedy that happened with him where he had to pull back from everything. Right. It's like it makes it hard to continue on something like that. I think he was onto a good point, in unpopular opinion, but I think if Jared Leto actually had the full screen time in the full development that he should have had, that Joker, because when you watch the deleted scenes from it, the deleted scenes of Jared Leto's Joker was actually pretty interesting.
Okay.
Of shocking Harley Quinn and taking over Arkham and doing all of this stuff that was very Joker-esque.
Right.
We've never seen inside Arkham Asylum.
Right.
So now we got a picture of it, and we had a deleted scene from Jared Leto, but we just never got him. They used him because 30 Seconds to Mars was going on tour, and they used him for promotional stuff. That's all he was used for. Even Morbius, he was going on another tour. They did a lot to him to kind of, track him in a certain way where he got a lot of people to the theaters. We know that.
I thought Zach did a great job with Justice League.
With that future scene.
Yeah, he did.
The future scene with the Joker sitting there with the long hair.
Yep.
And you could tell that was before they decided all the tattoo stuff because, and he looked crazy. And the laugh that he did it wasn't the maniacal, like, calculated laugh. It was like, there's something really wrong here, and he's actually scared.
Yeah.
And, like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I see where he was going with everything. Yeah. And the tattoos weren't necessarily a creation of his. It was just something they threw in there to, to give that gangster Joker maniacal thing, which
that apocalyptic world of Batman where he was in, and Superman over there, just it was an interesting time, and I thought that was going to be something like great to see, and I thought Zach was going to. I thought it was going to be something great to see, just his vision and storyline of the whole thing. Right, and I think with him falling out of it and just not being able to complete his work, I would be upset too, because I never got to complete it, and then they just took it away and said, like, you're done here, Yep. And I think James Gunn will have a better chance because they love James Gunn. He will. For everything he's done. Yeah. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy was great.
storyline wise, I was like, it's a decent story. It's the actors that played the Guardians pulled the movie through all the way in all of them.
I agree. Now, last question.
Okay.
Andrew, I'm going to give him his props. He called this from day one. Exquisite Corpse. Exquisite Corpse. He was like, yo, this is dope. This is a great comic book. This is going to be a movie. He was calling this.
I saw it too.
He was calling this like early. And I'm like,
when I saw the cover, when I saw the first cover, I didn't even know anything about it. I saw the first cover. I said, this is going to blow up.
Okay.
You know, with that bunny mask on and everything like that. Because we live in such a mixed world now with the mixed media of anime coming forward now.
Yep.
I go, that's got people locked in. So it doesn't matter what else happens from here on out. People are going to lock into it, and it's going to have a movie. It's going to have a full production. And sure enough, like you know, because I heard him call that out when he was looking at it.
Called it early.
But when I saw the first cover before it came out, when I saw issue 1 and they had that look to it, I was like, that's going to blow up.
Right.
You know, and it gives the very like Deadly Class look to it of having that mask on, having the weapons. That's what people like to see. So when you throw those aspects into it, people are, I'll be on board. And it's a good story. It's not even that it's a bad story. It's actually a good story, too. So I used to, with manga and anime, I used to get early releases.
Right.
So like you see like the big Demon Slayer. I had that I had the first issue a year before it actually released. And I did a review on it.
Right.
And I saw that and I was like, this is going to blow up. And then I got to see episode 1 6 months before it released. And I was like, oh, they just did it straight on from the manga. They animated it so well. I was like, that's going to be the biggest anime series. And sure enough, you have it re-released this weekend in theaters, and it's already done numbers above everything else. You know, it's one of those things where anime and manga now are just they're blowing up.
So that's kind of like my two-part question. So it's like, I believe that independent comic books are like going to be films and stuff like that. Drew just got back in. He already called. He said, oh, this is going to be it.
Yeah.
Do you think independent comic books and anime are going to soon take over for like the cinema world against like the DC and Marvels?
They will. I think the thing is, and if you look at it, like I said, with a lot of DC and Marvel covers now, they're hiring manga artists to do covers. And Nicholas Draper Ivey was the best example. I get he's from America, but he does manga so well and that art style so well, is that you look at Static Shadows of Dakota when they came out with that and the reboot to Static, is that he did the interiors and he did all this work to it, and that's the style that you see coming out now. So I think that they're going to start pushing for it because that's what people like to see.
Okay.
And, you know, anime-wise, movie-wise, you look at them, they just announced the live-action Naruto.
Okay.
So Naruto's this huge property, billions of dollars into it. They finally got the production, and Lionsgate is doing the movie with full production from Kishimoto. So he just had a hard time trying to get the green light, but they finally got the full green light, and it starts production at the end of the year.
Okay.
So they're pulling full production into it. So I think you're going to start seeing it more and more, and I think we've always seen it. Like I said, with Magnificent Seven, it was a remake of Samurai 7. You know, you had all those old Chinese films that came over. You had all the, you know, Bruce Lee.
Right.
I think Bruce Lee was the catalyst for it, and it just skyrocketed from there. So was that from the 70s,
right,
60s, 70s? It took off.
Got you.
And I think it has a lot to do with, and I'm going to say this, and somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong with it. Our culture specifically, Black culture, loves all of that stuff because it gets us out of what people tell us our reality is supposed to be. So when we have a good fantasy story, when we have a good martial arts movie, we say that's good, and then everyone follows suit with what we kind of go with.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that a lot, just in recent times with everything.
No, you're right.
So
you're right.
I think independent comics are going to start trailblazing, and I think anime is going to start taking over the theaters, and I think live action remakes of the anime stories are going to start taking over. And like I said, with some of the comic fatigue that's coming out, I think that's why because the movies can only go so far. Like you said, after X-Men, what next?
What's next? Exactly.
You know, what's next? And we try to throw all these stories out of all these huge events that we run out of events. That's why the Flash TV show kind of ended, because they hit every major event so early on. And by like season 4, we hit every major event.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, we're going to keep pushing it, but you can only push it so far.
So this is probably the best time to be an artist then.
I think so. I think it's the best time to be an artist. I think it's the best time to be a writer. I think it's the best time to even produce your own comic. If you can't write and you just have an idea and you can't write and you can't draw, produce it. Be an editor.
Great.
So I think being independent and doing things on our own, this is the best time for it, especially with social media.
Yes, you are right. You are right, Chair. Also, too, where can people find you, your comic book, just anything about you? Where can they find you at?
So everything I have is under S.Comics. So all my social media, S.Comics. So that's S-D-O-T. So you spell out dot, not just a dot. So spell it out, comics. And I have a website, S.comics.com. You can go on there. You can buy all the issues on S.comics.com. The full color issue for issue 3 will be being printed out now.
Okay.
But we have issues 1, 2, all the variants for them are... I don't want to say that. That would be a lie. So all the Kickstarter exclusives finally sold out, and the last Heist Brewery issue sold out, but all the other variants are still available. They're all in stock. We have about 100 more out of the 4,000 printed of issue 1. I have 170 left of the first printing of issue 1. So that was a pretty good run for me.
It was a great run.
So
great run.
Issue 1, I have issue 2. For the first print of issue 2, I only have about 29 copies left of the first print.
Okay.
And I keep them sectioned off. So when you get to the second print, the coloring is different on the titles. So you'll be seeing that. And then issue 3, I have 10 more of just the inks only edition. And then the full color edition I'll be getting next week. We have releases of the statue. So if you go onto the website, I have a different version of the statue that you can buy right away. You can either buy it in full color, or you can buy it as just a blank where you paint it yourself. And then this statue is for pre-order. It's $90 on the website for the pre-order, and then I'll be getting those out as pre-orders come in, but it'll come with a special exclusive issue 1. Has a nice design box. Statue goes in the box with all the plastic wrapping and everything like that, so it'll be well maintained and taken care of, and a special shipping box for the statue as well. And as you guys know, I have the special shipping boxes for everything that gets shipped out.
This is the shipping box right
This
here?
is the shipping box here.
Okay, you can show your shipping box. Show your shipping box off.
So all the shipping boxes are customized. They're S.Comics, or they have Project S.A.V.I.O.R on the front. You got nice artwork. And then on the back,
nice.
It is actually one of the issues, the cover art for one of the issues. So they always change. So I couldn't tell you which one you're going to get. I just pack them as I go.
Great.
I print out new ones as needed. I have new shrink wrap for them, so you'll actually get them as the comic. They won't go in another box. So, I want to see how that goes. So that's kind of a prototype thing too. So I'm going to plastic wrap them, ship them out that way. If that gets damaged too much, then they'll go back into another brown shipper and they'll get shipped out. But you'll always get a box with it. You get extras. I load them with extras of wristband stickers. I've got a new production line of pins coming out, challenge coins. So a lot of stuff going on, and we're in pre-production for issues 4 and 5 are in pre-production now, getting all the pencils are done. Now it's just getting the line work done.
You have a lot, and they all look great. They all look great. I especially love your box. I love your stickers in the box, your bands in the box. I love everything. I was very impressed with it, and I just love the actual color of the box, or the front of the box.
Yes.
Reminds me of Purple Rain. I explained to you. To me, it just looks so. It just looks so clean. Like, I just love that.
So Purple Rain there's actually inspiration of Purple Rain in some of the stuff that gets done too.
Got you.
My wife, huge Prince fan.
Yeah.
Her mother, who passed away a couple years ago, she was a huge Prince fan. She had all the Purple Rain shirts.
Yes.
Where she would do purple hair and everything like that. So you will see Purple Rain influence in coming covers. So yes, that is an inspiration.
I love it.
I explain it in every issue. As you see, you get to know me a little bit more. I put a write-up in everything.
Yes, you do.
So you get to know me a little bit more, what I've been through, what I've seen, just my life in general.
Yes.
development with my kids, relationship with my wife, everything like that. You get to know me better.
Yes.
And now I think that was important for me to put that in there because it helps tell the story of my life and everything else. So that's what I have going on. And then there is going to be some new stuff coming out for S.Comics. One of the things I can't talk about, but I do have 2 new stories that I've worked up, got the characters done. So on the website, I'm going to be adding just the character designs to it.
Okay.
With character backstory, and those will be 2 things that'll be coming out towards the end of the year.
Got you. If people want to meet you or purchase some of your stuff, what upcoming events do you have at the end of this year if you want to remind them again?
So if you want to see me at a convention, I have Boston Comics in Color coming out at the beginning of the month, which is at the Reggie Lewis Track and Field Center. It's a free event, so it's free to go to. You come in, it's very intimate. It's probably about 30 or 40 artists. You have stuff from big names to just lesser creators of great value. It's just they don't have the name behind it yet.
Gotcha.
But you find a bunch of great artwork, jewelry, and it's all creators of color.
Gotcha.
That's the whole purpose of it. So creators of color showing off their stuff. It's a great event to go to, and it's free.
Yeah.
More money to spend on us.
$3.99 is fine.
Right.
Yep.
More money to spend on your favorite creators that you haven't met yet.
Right.
But you can meet me there. Anybody that comes in, you can always walk behind the table, take a picture with me, take a picture in front of the stuff.
That's good.
I love meeting people, hearing people's story. After that, at the end of June, we'll be at Heroes Con in North Carolina.
Okay.
I'll be there for the whole weekend. I'm going to try to spend more time down there. So anybody sends me a message on social media, they're in the area, I'd love to meet up, have a drink, hang out,
Good, great.
whatever the case may be. And at the convention, once I know the table numbers and stuff like that, I release all that information.
Great.
There's a brewery called Heist Brewery. That's Saturday of the last weekend in June. We are throwing an event there where there's going to be a special edition comic for the Heist Brewery. That's a one-shot with all the characters and a few characters that the Heist Brewery members made.
Good for you.
And then Anime Conclave in August, which that will be in New Orleans. So if you're in the New Orleans area,
Okay.
I'll be there. So I'm trying to spread out and go to different cons this year
Great.
to meet new people.
Great.
So that's what I have going on. And with this one project that I have going on, depending on where we go from there, I'll be doing a bunch of events throughout the state.
Okay.
And anybody that sends me a message, they're from the state of Connecticut, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll meet up, sign books for you, whatever you need. So
That's what's up, Mr. Cherry. That's what's up.
All right, so we just had a great episode with Stephen Cherry.
Yes,
this is
sir.
our first, well, obviously besides you, but our first indie creator guest on the Comics and Coffee podcast.
Thank you, Mr. Cherry. Appreciate you coming out here. This is a great time. Please,
S.Comics, make sure you follow him.
yes, please support. Great guy, great comic book, great figures, great shipping box, just great all around.
The dude brands very well.
Yes.
I mean, there's a number of variants that he already walked through. I'm gonna flash the box one more time because prior to us filming this episode, so just a quick, I didn't get to mention this on the episode. Quick backstory on how I even connected with Steven and his company S.Comics. I just found him on TikTok and I saw these variant covers and I'm like, yo, let me check this out. And then I saw some covers I liked. I was like, yo, I want to buy this and check it out. I placed an order. The dude's fulfilling my order and he realizes that I'm in Connecticut. And he's like, okay, well, dude, I don't have to, we can save you a few bucks on shipping. I can deliver this to your door
right
if
to
you want. Yeah.
And deliver. Yep.
Dude, so long story short, we ended up arranging a meetup here at the Coffee Fix on the Silas Deane Highway in Wethersfield, Connecticut. He pulls up, he brings this branded box. So this was my first impression of his work. I'm like, dude, this packaging is incredible. Like, this is another level of detail that is just, it's just really inspiring and great to see, especially from an indie creator. And so we end up chopping it up here for like 2 hours. Tony, the owner, ends up getting us a round of beers, and we really truly chop it up. So that's part of the reason why the chemistry flowed so well on this episode. But
you never know who's around your area that's actually doing the same thing and actually loves the same thing as you. So it's really cool.
From the same city, all of that.
Exactly.
So, dude, like, this was a really great episode. And, dude, great job moderating, interviewing. We just...
Number 5 of Mr. Cherry, so I know he's happy.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly,
I mean?
right. It's lucky number.
You know what I mean?
Dude, so this should be the first of many more episodes where we get indie creators on and kind of just check out what projects they got coming up and, add that to the rotation.
Yes, and if you're interested to be on the show, you're more than welcome to contact us and let us know, hey, whenever you want to come on board, connect.
All right, for sure. Yo, run through School of Rejects.
Yes, so School of Rejects, also, I actually have big news. School of Rejects issue 1 is now paperback on Amazon. So you can get issue 1 color on Amazon right now. So if you ever want to check that out, check it out and type in School of Rejects, spell Rejecks, or you can just type in my name, Chad Milling. You'll find it right there on Amazon. So, and issue 2 and 3 will be on very soon. So I'll keep you guys posted.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
And make sure you. Oh, keep going.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and make sure you follow us at 82 Comics. That's on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Website coming soon, and stay tuned for the next episode. Oh, one last thing. Make sure you support your local comic shops, support indie creators, purchase physical copies, and
Yes.
then read them so that way
Yes.
we can discuss them over coffee.
Yes. Comics and coffee.
There you go.
Comics and coffee.
Catch you on the next episode.
Peace.
Boom.
Yes.
Let me get this powered down.
My head wants to say coffee and comics.
Yeah, I know. You always want to say coffee and comics. I kept doing the same thing in the beginning, and then I just I'm drawing a line. It
Yeah.
starts with comics.
Yeah.
Comics is more important than coffee, even though I love coffee. But it starts and ends with comics. So I just started. I was like, that's
See, I
what
was going
committed to.
alphabetical order. I was like, well, F is before M. So I was like, yo, let's go this way.
Yeah, my brain runs this way, so I'm just gonna run
Exactly.